So let's get started. Today we're going to be debating the debate. So this debate's going to be good on the debate, and it's the presidential debate, debateception. Kamala versus Trump, Harris versus Trump. I just want to get straight into it, but first we go around, simple introductions, keep it under 20 seconds. We don't need to know your life story. Let's start with Gibbs.
Hey, yeah, my name is Admiral Gibbs. You can find me everywhere doing as Admiral Gibbs on every platform. I do gaming, we do politics several nights a week, and we do a lot of Halo-focused stuff and other sci-fi genres like Halo, and Star Wars, and 40K, and college football.
Thank you very much. He's also a pick from the Hippy Dippy recruitment, so we're building it back up again. Andrew.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Wilson. I'm the host of The Crucible. It is, to my knowledge, fastest growing debate channel on YouTube. I'm a political analyst, political satirist, and blood sport debater.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Hutch.
Yeah, you can find me at youtube.com/Hutch. We're doing daily uploads now on twitch.tv/Hutch. Started off in gaming, been doing politics for like 8 years.
Fantastic. I'm going to throw it now over to IRI.
I'm really important. I talk politics, stream Monday through Friday. That's about it.
Perfect. You also watch a lot of C-SPAN. Joe.
Yeah, my name is Joe Lewis, Jooelewis. Once again, thanks again for having me. I'm an alternate for somebody who dropped out, so I very much appreciate the last-minute throw-in, but I'm very glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Erudite could not join us today due to sickness. Hopefully we can get her at another time. We're going to throw it over to Pisco.
Thank you, Dylan. Really appreciate being here. Thank you for the invite. I'm Pisco. I talk about law on Twitter a lot and occasional debate politics or legal issues on Twitch or on YouTube, that kind of thing. You can follow me on Pisco Liddy on Twitter.
Okay. Rob Noor.
Rob Noor, populist conservative. My YouTube channel is Normal America with Rob Noor, probably the best place to find me. All other platforms, just Rob Noor. Happy to be here.
And Turk.
I go by The Turk. I can be found on YouTube at The Turk as well as Twitter. I do a lot of PCs, computer gaming, and I'm a resident master, knowledgeable expert of the console wars. So PC Master Race is the best race.
Fantastic. If you could turn up your mic volume just slightly, that would be fantastic. Okay? So we're going to go through the rule set quick before I pose the question, just so nobody can say they did not know. Number one, any use of slurs will not be tolerated. We are streaming on both Twitch and YouTube, so please do not get my channel banned. I was already just, demonetized for 10 months. I'd like money. Violations will lead to immediate consequences. We will ban you so we can try to keep our channel. All participants are expected to adhere to the terms of service. You get the idea. Behave. Don't do toss violations. When I'm speaking, you guys must remain silent. I'm not trying to give my opinion. I don't give my opinion during these. I am simply just trying to moderate or possibly ask a follow-up question if there's just too much noise and no one can hear it. I will be semi-aggressive. We have a lot of aggressive personalities and people who don't like each other, okay? And I know that. So I will be slightly aggressive with some use today. I'm not picking on you. I just want the viewers to hear what is being said. If they're not hearing what's being said, it's not a show. It's for you. It's for the audience.
I like everybody, Dylan. What do you mean?
I never said anything about that.
Yeah, they're all my besties, bro.
Of course. You go way back with all of them. All back to college. When the opening and closing statements are to be delivered without interruption. So if you hear somebody say something mean about you, even though personal attacks are not allowed, you got to wait and respond in point during your time to speak during introductions. Try to keep them to 2 minutes. Anything over that will eventually be interrupted because we got a show to run. Brevity and clarity are key. Okay, and that's it. Everybody understand the polls?
Good.
Fantastic. Most of you have done this before, so I don't think it's that confusing. We're going to open with the presidential debate. What is your reaction to what we just saw between Harris and Trump? Do you think Trump won? Do you think Harris won? How do you think it went? And how does it reflect on the race? We're going to start with Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe like on points, Harris won. But like, I think Trump asked some key questions, especially in his closing. I think the things he said are going to stick with the populace, especially when some of them ended up being true. I know everybody's going to want to talk about the dogs thing, which is like, oh, hyperbolic. But, whenever one of these crazy, insane statements like the transgender surgeries for illegal immigrants in prisons actually turned out to be a true thing that she was advocating for, I heard the left be real silent and kind of ignore that. So I think that there's going to be some questions. I think asking why she hasn't done anything in the 3.5 years she's been there is a pretty good question, good way to close. I think it was very strategic. But but I think she was very good in the debate, and maybe caught Trump a little off guard, especially in that middle section.
Okay, got to throw it over to Andrew.
Yeah, so this was a subpar debate on both ends. I think that Trump barely got the best of it, and the reason that he barely got the best of it is Harris really needed to have a decent showing, and she really didn't. She didn't really outline any kind of new ideas for America whatsoever. There was nothing that wasn't just kind of a typified progressive policy. Trump, on the other hand, didn't have his kind of normal zingers, but he got a couple of good shots in there. Ultimately, I don't think the debate changed anybody's mind, and I don't think that that either one of them are eager to have another one. I saw today that Trump did not want to have another debate. So yeah, I would say that the edge went to Trump. Harris also had the disadvantage of being a woman, and you know, I think that she handled that better than most by not being kind of like a shrill brat. But ultimately, she needed to have a better performance today, and she really didn't.
Hutch.
Well, I think the polls across the board have demonstrated that it's somewhere around 50% of the people thought she won the debate, 25% of the people thought that Trump won the debate, and 25% were undecided. So the public at large surely seems to believe that she got the better of it by pretty much a landslide. Trump seemed like he was phoning it in the entire time. It was pretty low energy. If you compare his debate performance from 2016, it's quite obvious that he is not the same man that he was back then. Not quite as bad as Biden in the last debate, obviously, but definitely low energy. I think Kamala went in there with a game plan to get under his skin and rattle him. And I think she was obviously successful in doing that. He spent far less time attacking her than she spent attacking him because he was spending most of his time defending himself. She would throw a little bit of bait into each answer, and he took the bait every single time. I think she went into it clearly prepared, and she executed on that plan. So I don't think there's any question who won this debate.
Okay, I'm going to throw it over now to Irai.
Yeah, I think Trump reminded a lot of people about why we don't want him back in the White House. He shined a racist spotlight on Springfield, Ohio, spreading this nonsense about Haitian immigrants are abducting people's pets and eating them. And he looked like a fool. TikTok is tearing him up right now over it. He's also hanging out with this clown, Laura Loomer, another racist who calls Kamala Shaniqua. So I don't think Donald Trump had a great debate. He looked like a fool. And Kamala outlined some policy. Let's give new families $6,000 tax credit so they can buy a crib, they can take care of expenses in that first year. Let's give first-time home buyers a $25,000 credit so they can get assistance with a down payment. So I think Kamala rocked it. She had a great debate, and I think she did what she had to do. She didn't have to hit a home run. She just had to hit a single or a double, and she outperformed what a lot of people thought she would do.
Okay, I'm not going just one after the other. I'm trying to do like two conservatives, two left, two, and going back and forth. So next, I'm going to throw it over to Rob Noor.
Okay, first off, not the topic that I was told. I was told that the topic was going to be who is positioned to better lead the country, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. I hope that we get to that, but I don't mind talking about.
I thought it was the debate.
No, the topic that I was given.
Yeah, that wasn't the topic I was given either.
But that's fine. I don't mind. I'm flexible, so hopefully we get to that. And I think it'll further illustrate the point that I have on this debate in the first place.
Wow, sounds like a classic bait and switch, Rob.
Because now
bamboozled,
I am going,
bro. Bamboozled.
Now listen. I am going to take the position that I think Kamala Harris won the debate. So it oddly puts me now like maybe on the panel with the lefties to some degree, but I don't think it'll move the needle in any way. The reason is because Kamala Harris is running from all adversarial sort of questioning of her positions whatsoever. She is literally just running her campaign like the Biden administration did in 2020, which is a campaign from a basement that's running on things like vibes and leaving her surrogates do everything. She literally has so few policy positions that she's pretending to be Trump and crib his policy positions because the left always has to pretend to be Republicans when it comes to elections because their positions are so unpopular. So she's trying to do that. She's literally copying and pasting her positions from the Biden administration that the metadata shows it was just directly from Biden. And so she throws out a couple, so yeah, $20,000 families bubble, let's throw money out. But she didn't really ever define who she is. This was Trump's chance to do so. He took the bait, didn't do a good job of defining her. So I give him a C-, maybe a D+. I give Kamala Harris a C, maybe C+, because she didn't do anything for people that are undecided to be be more comfortable with voting for. In fact, a lot of the polling shows that on the key questions such as the economy, actually people are less impressed with her after her debate performance than before the debate performance, because she didn't do anything to really inform the American people of what she would do or why she hasn't done it. She is trying to run a campaign as if she's an agent of change when she is the de facto incumbent. She hasn't answered for the fact that she covered up for the mental decline, just like every lefty on this panel, for the mental decline of Joe Biden. And she claims that she was the last person in the room in many of these topics. That means she has directly adhered to the Biden administration, their failed policies. And as you'll see in this panel, we'll have to talk about things like Trump talking about cats or vibes or JD Vance is weird, because everyone on this panel knows, despite what they'll try to gaslight you to believing, that the Trump administration was more effective for the majority of Americans than the Harris-Biden administration. And so they'll do everything possible to not talk about the disastrous record and the fact they gaslit the American people for 4 years saying the economy's great, the border's great, foreign policy's great, when it's all disaster under the Harris-Biden administration.
So I just checked. The question was, who is better to lead the United States into the future, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Parentheses, post-presidential debate. We can open with the presidential debate, then we'll go to that question in it. Because I think we start with the debate, then we'll move into those topics. Or, you know, it'll be an outgrowth anyway. We're going to throw it over to Turk.
Yeah, so I actually, is that louder now? Is that good enough, Dylan?
It's perfect.
Cool. So I largely agree with some of the things Hutch said and resonate more with what Rob and Andrew said. I think that Kamala performed better during the debate. She was able to articulate some of the platitudes that she's been putting out throughout her different adventures and her presentations she's been doing at the rallies and stuff. But I do believe that things were really stacked against Trump in many different avenues. Being fact-checked multiple times, whereas there were plenty of obvious things that have been debunked that Kamala was able to put out a lot of times that no one was able to push her on except for Trump. Never got to flesh those out. But when it comes to policy positions, I could debate with IRI on some of what Kamala presented. I think what Trump presented could have been presented better, but I do believe that Trump's platform is a little more sound, a little more rounded and more defined, and I would have to give Trump that edge on that during the debate.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Joe Lewis.
Yeah, I want to make something pretty clear because I'm definitely in confrontation to the other more liberal people on this panel as somebody who voted uncommitted within my primary and somebody who also plans to vote green for this election. So I want to make it very clear that I have no stretch of the imagination in support of Kamala Harris, nor will I want to support the Democratic Party moving forward. With that being said, in the confines of the debate itself, I do believe that Kamala did what she had to do in towards of poking Donald Trump, but I'm not exactly convinced that seems to be something that's a very big challenge to do, since he pretty much took every single bait that she lobbied, even the small things. So that was very frustrating to watch. My concern moving forward are a few clear things. I think it's in the best interest of the American people for them to debate as often as possible moving forward. I think that has to be in some capacity in a more diverse environment. That means that you need to have something within the DNC and RNC apparatus, and then something also within the Fox News apparatus. I think what would be beneficial if I am somebody within Trump's camp is to keep the debates concentrated. So having it focus on a particular policy. Something that was very frustrating for me is that education wasn't really a topic of the debate. Housing wasn't a topic of this debate. Voter expansion or lack thereof wasn't a conversation. They were talking about, Kamala was talking about gun ownership, and there was a school shooting less than 7 days prior. That's embarrassing and really rough to watch. And with that being said, I do strongly support moving forward that they have more debates. I think it's in the best interest of the American people. So I really hope Trump and Kamala can figure that out. I do think she did a great job, or the best as she could. But if we're talking about grades, it's like a B- for Kamala, and then a D+, if not C- for Trump. But again, they're not talking to those who are on this panel. They're talking to the undecided voters, the moderates, the more people closer to the center, to try to move them one way or another. So that's going to be the hard part for both of them.
And we're going to throw it to Pisco to wrap us up.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't really think it's up for debate that Kamala won the debate. I think practically, I don't know, 3 out of 4 conservatives here, either say that she clearly won or it was a wash. And so, and polls suggested as well, in terms of optics, it was a no-brainer. Kamala Harris was clearly more polished, more prepared. On the point about taking the bait, I don't think, for example, people talking about the crowd size thing or the cats and dogs thing, that is just a optic point. It actually is a substantive point. And let me give you an example. Right now in my opening, I could take the bait of what Andrew said about shrill women and start talking about that and acting all offended, but I have a strategy going into this discussion. I have a strategy because I want to talk about certain things, and I don't want to talk about other things and drag down discussions into points that are not what I care to argue about at the moment. And Trump showed that he is unable to control his urges, unable to control what he wants to discuss and what he would be advantageous for him to discuss. I don't think that would be policy. If you started listening to the debate about any kind of specific policy prescription, I challenge you to bring something up other than a destructive 10% tariff across the board. And that shows to me a lack of leadership, a lack of preparedness for the office of presidency. And the other thing that shows a complete, to the American people, lack of preparation and fitness for the office is his continued lie about the 2020 election. This is a man who tried to steal the presidential election in 2020 and undo and upend our constitutional process. The people saw it once again that he has no respect for the dignity of this country, its founding principles whatsoever. He continues to promote the lie that he won when he lost. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, put a dignified performance, absolutely obliterated him on multiple policy issues, and especially that one. The notion that this is a man who's all about himself and will do anything, even destroy this country and its constitution for his own benefit.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the debate, but like halfway through, you can only debate a debate so much. We're probably gonna shift away totally from it. I think the debate conversation will probably move us towards policy and like the differences between the candidates anyway. But I'm gonna start with Andrew because Andrew's the one that disagrees the most, so it makes sense to throw it to him first. Andrew, would you like to expand at all about why you think Trump might have edged out on the debate?
Yeah, well, he just had he had kind of better zingers. The thing is that Harris didn't present any kind of new vision for America. It was just a continuation of Biden policies. There was nothing extravagant that she said which stood out. There was no kind of great reforms that she's promoting. Even when I looked at her plan, I was looking at her plan this morning in preparation for the debate. She's not really doing much. She's adding 4% to the corporate tax rate. And that's about it. I mean, there's not really much in the way of deviation. She wants the same type of assault weapons ban. She wants all the kind of same progressive tripe that we've been hearing about nonstop for years. So there's just really nothing that makes her stand out. There's nothing that makes her exceptional in this race. She looks like exactly what she is, somebody who was swept in there in order to be the candidate for the Democrat because Joe Biden lost his fucking minds, and Democrats hid that for well over a year, knowing that he was in cognitive decline and would have pushed him out there as being completely fit for office, even knowing he was in cognitive decline. And other Democrats came to the rescue of him and said, well, it's okay to go ahead and elect this guy who has the mental capacity of an infant because he'll have good staff around him and he'll be a nice puppet president for the Democrats. So I thought that was bullshit, but she looks like exactly what she is, a hasty replacement where nobody else was available, who she was there. And so they're using her. But there was absolutely nothing which made her stand out. I'd love to hear any policy from any of these liberal scumbags on this panel, any policy that makes Kamala Harris stand out. They won't be able to name a single one, not one.
So
$25,000 for first home buyers.
Just so I'm clear in terms of talking about because you mentioned the concern about distinction, right? Which I would agree with you that she didn't really do too much in terms of establishing that distinction. But it seems like what I'm sure Hutch and I, and especially Pisco, are going to argue is that there was a distinction there. So if you were to be charitable, what do you think would be the response of certain things of distinction? Or were there any points of distinction in your eyes in the debate?
Distinction between who? Trump and Kamala?
I got one.
I mean,
moderators. So go ahead.
I was just saying, I already went over their distinction in performance. But when you get to the meat and potatoes of what it actually is, Kamala looks like exactly what she is. Somebody who the Democrats turned to in desperation because the candidate that they wanted in there, who probably would have easily beaten Trump by their estimation, Joe Biden, is unfit. And we knew this as soon as the first debate was done, that he was in massive cognitive decline and that this was hidden from the American public, even though Democrats knew it. She looked like exactly what she was, just a ringer who was there, who the Democrats turned to. She didn't look polished, like Pisco said. That's fucking cope. She also didn't have any great policy positions that made her stand out. There was no great kind of
hang on a second, Andrew. You made a claim before. You made a claim before that we couldn't identify a single policy that she put forward.
No, I didn't. Before? That's not what I said.
Okay, sorry. So are you able at this moment?
Pisco, what did I say, bro? What did I say?
You said that none of the Democrat left-wing people on this panel are going to be able to identify a single policy proposal that she put out.
Nope, I didn't.
Or a new
nope,
policy
it's incorrect. You're an idiot.
Restate your claim. Restate your claim.
You got to stop talking then. Yes, so I'll stop talking. Go to the VOD. I said you find a single policy position that made her stand out, Pisco.
How about the purchase? What would you think about the purchase of or the construction of 3 million new homes? That was a policy put out.
So 3 million new homes. Oh, I really made her stand out. What a great policy.
I want to be a little bit more charitable here.
So that's what we have here, right? So anything that we propose that we think will either be incremental or be different, this is a policy that neither Trump proposed, that Biden didn't propose. It is a novel policy. Would you acknowledge that, Andrew? It's novel.
No, I don't think it's novel. Democrats have been talking about the rebuilding of America through infrastructure every single election of my lifetime.
Our homes infrastructure?
Yes, they're
personal homes infrastructure.
Yes, of course it's infrastructure.
What is not infrastructure, Andrew?
What are you talking about?
Is everything infrastructure?
Everything that the government is going to build, if they're going to build public housing, yeah, I would consider that to be infrastructure.
Would you consider the government is just like giving checks to people to spend on their rent? Is that infrastructure?
No, that would be welfare.
Oh, so what's the definition of infrastructure for you?
Why are we being pedantic with this? Just tell me what you want, Pisco. Get to what you're getting to.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to put a big label on it and say infrastructure and say, well, it's just the same kind of infrastructure policy as before because, look, Biden had an infrastructure policy. But you know that there's a difference in kind between purchasing homes and purchasing things like... I don't think it
stand out, Pisco.
They're different,
Pisco,
right?
It didn't
stand out. Policy. Yeah, not to you because you're going to say anything. Because you're...
The next day was like, oh, my God, did you hear? Kamala's
yeah.
million new homes. Nobody said that, Pisco. Nobody gives a shit.
Wait. Okay.
Nobody gives a shit about 3 million homes, Pisco. Nobody fucking cares.
People don't care about housing.
Clearly say why 3 million homes matter, and then we'll have Andrew just respond.
So
talking over each other.
Clearly, the American people have made it abundantly apparent to everybody that housing prices and the price of housing is a big concern of theirs. In fact, it's one of the big sources of angst in America and Middle America, as well as in other countries, Canada, UK. Everyone is going through a cost of living crisis in this country. And for Andrew to say, oh, who the fuck cares about houses? Who the fuck cares about prices and homes?
Yeah,
shows
what's
going on here. He doesn't care. And what's more is Andrew sort of builds himself as a person for the family. Isn't that what you want? Don't you want permanent homes, people to have connections?
No,
and
you know what happens when the government goes in and they build low-income housing homes? Is it brings in people with low income, brings everybody's housing prices way down. Pisco. That's what ends up happening.
Low-income houses.
Bro, are you going to let me finish? My turn. Yeah. I just let you talk. Remember how I did that? You're going to do the same thing for me. So here's what happened. Okay,
you cut him off multiple times to be clear.
Oh, sorry, Hutch. Are you going to Hutch, or you go cry, Hutch? You want me to go get you?
I'm pointing it out. You're trying to tell him that you're.
Okay, we're gonna
let him speak, and you cut him off the whole fucking time.
We're gonna let Andrew finish. We have other people that want to talk, so I don't want to get to others. I know Turk's been waiting patiently. So Andrew, finish your point.
Yeah, anytime the government decides that they're going to build houses for people and get them out there, I'm guessing you want to get them in the hands of those who need them the most, which are going to be lower income people who probably don't qualify for them under today's market. Otherwise, why would you be fucking building them? Otherwise, let me finish.
Interrupting him, dude.
Pisco, let me finish, Pisco. Otherwise, why would you build them? If people just qualified for them right now and could go get them, you wouldn't need to fucking build them. So you're going to be building them for the people who don't qualify for them. And since that is the case, you're going to be building them for people with low income. Low income people are going to come in. It's going to drive the pricing of housing down. That's all Democrats ever do. They're scumbags. Don't give a shit about anybody except themselves. And of course, it's not their money. What do they care?
Okay, it was Pisco's point, so I do want to go back to him, and then we're going to Turk. And Hutch,
it's a dumb assumption for Andrew to say low-income people are the ones who are primarily going to be doing these purchases. It is true that I think that with the $25,000 first home time buyer a provision that's included as part of the plan, that might attract some people who would otherwise wouldn't be able to afford homes. But the whole point of Kamala's entire policy is to drive down housing.
Wait, so I was
prices.
right, Pisco?
Hang on, but that is what people have been asking for, is to make it affordable for people to own homes. Now, what Andrew is saying is,
you said you would let. I interrupted him.
What Andrew is saying is, I don't want housing to become affordable for people. I don't want people to be able to purchase homes, and I think that policies that are crafted for that aim are stupid. I mean, then say what you feel. And admit that what you don't really care about. You don't really care. You don't really care. Wait, hang on. You don't really care about people having access to affordable housing.
No, you don't care.
Living in big cities and
yeah. So anyway, yeah, Pisco. Here's the thing, though, man. Right? Is you just made.
So Turk, continue.
Yeah, so I got a smart aleck answer, and then I got a pushback on Pisco, and then I also wanted to kind of engage Pisco on the original claim of the quality of the debate. So first thing, the government has a really hard time actually defining things, because infrastructure can mean a whole bunch of different things, but so can inflation. And if you went to and heard the Joe Biden clip where he said the Inflation Act or whatever should have been called something else about the green energy. So that's that point. Then the second thing is, what do you think happens to the costs of homes when the government artificially gives people money in order to buy homes?
I think if you increase supply by 3 million and encourage first-time owners, I'm not sure about the net inflationary effect or the net price effect on that. I'm not an economist, so I couldn't tell you. But you're massively increasing supply, and yes, you are providing incentives for certain types of people to get housing. So I don't know.
We tried something. Pisco, like I said,
something. No. Sorry.
Low income, like I said, Pisco.
Hang on a second. So is it different in your mind, Andrew? First-time home buyers and low-income people, are those things different? Yes or no?
So
are those things different? Yes or no, Andrew?
Of course, there's a distinction between the two. However, Pisco, it doesn't make your point.
Yeah, so
Pisco, the thing is that I can say there's a distinction between the two. What you're trying to draw in is people can't afford houses right now. People who can't afford houses right now are going to be people who don't have a lot of fucking money. Right, Pisco? Answer my question. Answer my question, Pisco.
Not necessarily.
No, of course not. No, they have tons of money. They have tons of money, Andrew. That's why they can't afford houses.
Not necessarily. As you're aware, Andrew, as you're aware, even people who would be considered kind of middle income have been priced out in certain places.
Oh yeah, they've been priced out. Where have they been priced out?
That's a good point, Pisco. Everybody's priced out. You can't even go buy food at the grocery store, and they're worried about fucking housing prices. It's the most outrageous, ridiculous bullshit I've ever seen.
You guys
we're offering solutions to problems. Oh, I'm out of touch.
No.
I'm not out of touch. Listen. They had a jobs report come back. It's 800,000 less. If I went to my stockholders and said, "Hey, we're gonna make 800,000 less this year than what was predicted," guess what? My stock prices would drop. It's the same thing here. They're lying, and then they turn around and go, "Hey, we're going to give you this little consolation prize, housing," which probably won't even solve the problem. And secondly, it's such a drop in the bucket. It doesn't affect any of the real issues. It's total fucking bullshit. And you're over here going, "So good."
Even with that revision, Biden had stronger job numbers than Trump did. Even if you take away COVID losses and gains.
Yeah, because everybody's gonna work 3 jobs to buy fucking 1 bag of milk, bro. Like,
I'm gonna jump
the economy. We're gonna work 3 jobs. We saved it, bro. Yeah.
You made a claim. You made a claim about jobs.
There's too many people talking at the same time. I want to hear what Hutch said clearly. I know Turk never got to finish the statement, so we will get Turk again, but he got half of his statement out, and there's a lot of people. I want to hear Hutch's point clearly, and we'll have one person respond, not 3.
It's a simple point. He made a point about how they revised the job numbers down. But even if you account for that, there were more jobs that were created on Biden's watch. Even if you get rid of the job losses during COVID and then the bounce back, the initial recovery.
It's not true. So
if you're making a point about jobs,
it's not true.
Then we need to address that.
It's not true. Just to reference the jobs.
False. Just anybody who's watching this right now, you can look it up yourselves.
Just to reference the job numbers first, the vast majority of the jobs that have been created were jobs that were lost during COVID through disastrous policies, which I'll agree some Republicans and Trump went along with, but certainly were championed more by the Democrats. They're now taking credit for jobs that they let people go back to work. Second, full-time jobs are down tremendously, and many of these are part-time jobs because due to the Harris-Biden economy, People have to work multiple part-time jobs now to be able to do things. Third, the net number of jobs from citizens of this country or people born in this country have declined precipitously. Most of those jobs are going to people that were foreign-born, and so that means most of those people would be ineligible to vote. That means when you're considering voting, knowing this, you and all the people you know that are eligible to vote are actually losing jobs. Fourth, jobs are hardly important if real wages are going down, which real wages have been going down precipitously under the Harris-Biden administration. Now, to talk about some of the other things that were said here specifically, when it comes to sort of housing, let me ask you this question, Pisco. The same people that promised they were going to buy millions and millions or thousands of electrical vehicle stations and were spending hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars doing that, how many did they end up building?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Okay, another question. They also said
three. I got you back.
Yeah, three. Right. Okay, and they also said they also spent hundreds.
Who's the same people? What do you mean by the same people?
The Harris-Biden administration and the people that are actually running the show behind them. Secondly, let me ask you another question. When those same people also promised that they were going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars for rural broadband, how many rural broadband people have been connected under that policy that spent hundreds of millions of dollars?
I don't know offhand.
The answer is zero. The answer is zero to that. So what Andrew,
there's a lot of appropriations. Are you denying the appropriations were put towards public ends and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, or that there were great investments made under the Inflation Reduction Act?
I think that's deflecting what the central question here. The point that Andrew's trying to get to is it's easy to promise, oh, we're going to spend money that we're just going to create out of thin air to build a product that will benefit people. But the problem is that ends up causing inflation, which we can see is already the core problem of the Harris-Biden administration. And second, they rarely deliver
and brings down housing prices, Rob. Remember that.
How is bringing down housing prices causing
I would like to continue my point. And secondly, they rarely deliver on the promises that they've given anyway. So we end up with massive inflation and the promises that they delivered not coming through. Now, to the more central point, again, you could see from the opening statements from people like IRI that were shouting racism, talking about the cat story and things like that. Then you see from Pisco talking about threat to democracy January 6th, exactly as I said would happen in my opening statement. They know that despite the gaslighting that they've done, including decrying people that correctly called out the cognitive decline of Joe Biden, the American people do not believe the Harris-Biden administration when it comes to the important things such as the economy, such as immigration. And so they know that they have to deflect from talking about those things at any means possible. I'm sorry, the American people are not assuaged of their fears that Kamala's been there for 3.5 years and their real wages have gone down and they can't afford food and they can't afford housing and their border is porous and their cities are being overrun with people that are breaking the law and taking their resources. And this administration has done nothing but exacerbate that. But it's all solved because she had 20 seconds of policy positions when she said, we're going to give people free money and create houses, something that they failed to do. Three and a half years they failed to do.
I mean, this is a shell game. This is a shell game what they're doing. So Andrew asked for a specific policy.
Pisco, I do want to throw out the IRI because he hasn't really said much.
Andrew asked for a specific policy. That's why we're focusing on
Pisco,
it.
be respectful. Let IRI talk. Come on, what's wrong with you?
Dylan said that I could go first.
I said after Pisco.
So Andrew asked for a specific policy
prescription
that we could talk about, and I offered one, and we were focusing on housing because that's where Andrew was taking the conversation. He wanted to get into the substance of the topics, and now Rob is decrying us and calling foul because we're focusing on that instead of Biden's cognitive decline. And similarly,
never happened.
You cannot win. Andrew is decrying the fact that we're lowering housing prices, and Rob's talking about inflation and worried about prices going up.
Both are true at the same time. So in areas where the low-income people come in, it's going to lower the value of the houses around, and it's also going to cause inflation.
What I'm going to say. So I'm going to finish what I'm going to say. So it sounds like these are a couple no-win scenarios. On the one hand, we want to talk about policy because that's what Andrew wanted us to get into. But obviously, Rob wants to talk about underlying deceit, and you can't trust the administration. So pick what you want to talk about, and we can go.
We can talk about all of it, Pisco. It's not a one or the other. It's not a bifurcation. We can talk about all of it. All of it's a package deal. So if you have low-income people coming into the suburban neighborhoods, it's going to necessarily lower the housing prices, which are in that area. Guarantee it happens nonstop. Okay, that is where you get the phenomenon called white flight. That's why that happens. Also, on top of that, it is going to increase inflation when you artificially increase the supply by 3 million homes. Pisco, both are true at the same time, Pisco.
Increasing housing supply is going to increase inflation. Help me there.
What's crazy is you offer this.
I'm sorry, where does the money come from? Pisco?
Sorry, I'm throwing it over.
Does the government spend the money, Pisco?
Yeah.
First, Andrew.
There was a question to Pisco, so now Pisco has to respond because you asked a question. So Pisco.
Yeah, so I understand that government expenditures can be inflationary in nature.
No kidding.
But let him finish.
if you're going to make a positive claim that there's a strong relationship or a good relationship, whatever you want to say, between the policy proposed by Harris, and you have to make it. Like Trump's policy of tariffs, a 10% tariff across the board is also in principle inflationary. But don't you have to make a case? Don't you have to make a showing that it's going to noticeably increase more than the any kind of countering effects that other kinds?
Well,
of
I mean, that was a nice whataboutism. Pisco doesn't answer my question.
Or increases in taxes. I'm not sure that it's going to noticeably increase inflation. I'm not sure about that. That's your case you have to make.
Well, Pisco, can we start then?
Right.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
I'll give it to IRI. Sorry.
I have to say, Andrew, my feelings are hurt for you to call me a liberal scumbag. I thought we were cool. I still love you, but that's okay. That being
Nice to
said,
see you again, IRI. How are you?
I'm good.
I noticed your
I'm
anti-Semitic
happy-
remarks you made towards Laura Loomer. That wasn't very nice, IRI.
Well, I'm Jewish, so it's kind of hard for me to be anti-Semitic, but okay.
And his IDF is in his family.
Here we
That-
go.
But I'm
I remember
happy
that
for your
clip.
success. You've been doing great, so I'm happy for you. As far as the jobs go, there are 5 million more jobs in America today than February 2020 before the pandemic. And you guys said these are because people have 3 jobs. But the thing is, we've had a record unemployment rate. It's been below 4%, or it was below 4% for a record stretch we haven't seen since the 60s. We hit record unemployment 3.4%, below even what Trump accomplished. So I feel like a lot more people in this country are employed. And this isn't the case that you guys portray. Everybody's got a part-time job.
Everybody does
Yeah.
have a part-time job, but I this is what's
5%.
crazy.
It's
is
5% of the workforce.
That's wrong. Everybody's got a part-time gig,
It's not.
a side gig,
5%
a
of the
side hustle.
workforce.
Yeah, I don't believe your numbers, even if you show them to me. I know too many people in my everyday
You look
life,
it up.
even if it's anecdotal. You can just go ask anybody. Everybody's got to
wait.
do 2 things.
Why do you not
Everybody
believe
has
the
to.
numbers?
Because
Why
you
am
can
I
go,
the
you
moderator?
can go ask
Jeez.
10 random people at HEB or Walmart or wherever, and they all will tell you they're doing 2 things. And there's no way
It's
that
called
this sample size.
anecdotal, dude.
Sure, it's anecdotal, but when it's every time, every time, listen, we've already caught you cooking the books and the job numbers. Why would I believe you with this 5% bullshit?
You understand?
I mean,
you
it's
understand the numbers
clear
of
that
the
y'all are
job
lying.
numbers.
Y'all lied
Anybody
about
can look up the
Biden.
job
Y'all
numbers.
lied about Biden. Y'all every time y'all say Kamala's got a policy, half the time it's just Trump's policies. Listen, it sounds like you got 2 halves of nothing. And what basically that equals out to is a whole lot of nothing. And y'all are sitting here just trying to pass off vagaries and nebulous policy and buzzwords like opportunity economy and say we're going to fix it. Well, Trump asked a valiant question. Hey, 3.5 years, y'all ain't done shit, and it's only got worse. Why hasn't it been fixed since then? And nobody's been able to answer that here. Y'all just keep saying, "Oh, she got this
What-
right
let
for
me
the
ask you
housing."
question?
Wait, I would like to ask, what is your guys' solution for the housing crisis? Because I know
Well,
what Trump is
before
offering.
you
It
skip
doesn't sound
over
like
to the
anything,
what
so-
about, can you answer his question?
What?
Why haven't you fixed
You're
everything?
gonna
Why
run.
hasn't
You're
it
gonna
been
run.
done anything
Is that
in
the
3.5
question?
years?
Yeah,
No,
so we
his
had-
que-
we
his
had-
question
First time we didn't have a
is,
peaceful First time we didn't have a transition with the
Oh.
previous administration.
Well,
Donald
okay.
Trump took a giant dump on the floor and set everything up for disaster. So they had to do a little bit of cleanup work. the last
What?
time.
Trump's
The whole
fault.
Wait,
world-
hang on.
Hold on.
The Democrats have been in charge of the presidency for 12 of the last
He gets
16
to
years.
finish. IRI gets to
Let me
finish.
finish. The whole world has been suffering through economic problems. This is not an American-centric thing. So we've done pretty well compared to the rest of the world.
We sure have. And what's more, in 2 years, we've only had Congress for 2 years, and those 2 years, there was a ton of bipartisan legislation passed. The CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act, the other kind of weird gun legislation that was bipartisan in nature.
Y'all have had the
We had-
presidency for 12 of the last 16 years, Pisco. Like, what do you mean? Like, y'all have had the leader of the free
I don't know
world,
why-
and it's been
why-
this dog shit
why does
for
this
like
need to-
all the whole time.
Why does this need to turn into a civics lesson? You understand that Congress is the one that
Oh,
passes
we're gonna do a
major
civics lesson. Okay,
legislation,
do you know what
right?
executive orders are? Like, yeah, I mean, you act like they don't have any control.
Hang on.
I'm
When
not sure what you guys
we
are
try
thinking
to do
is funny.
when we try to do
Wait, wait,
major
we'll let
when we
Pisco
try to do major executive action, for example, and you may not agree with the underlying policy, but Biden made a promise with student loan, and you might say that that's stupid or whatever. But when the administration tries to do stuff, who are the first people suing? It's Republican governors, Republican individuals. They're trying to stop as much as they can the administrative
Great,
state.
Pisco. Then
And
don't
in
put
fact-
anything on Trump's feet if it's all due to Congress, Pisco. If it's all Congress, then don't put it on Trump's feet.
In fact, that's not to say the president doesn't have a lot of power. They do.
No, oh, now he has a lot of power. 10 seconds ago, he's barely anything to do with anything. Now suddenly he has a lot of power.
And they just lied again. I just found a source saying that 54% of Americans are doing side jobs now. So they're lying. They're just lying.
In terms of the economy, the presidency can obviously, I guess, in terms of chain of command, you have the Federal Reserve there, which has a lot of influence on prices, that kind of thing. But in terms of direct appropriations and kind of major legislation, tax changes, that's all coming through Congress. The president has some role in what they can do with the administrative state, but that's all things that you guys don't agree with.
Man, are you tired from backpedaling, Pisco?
And there's no backpedaling whatsoever.
Total backpedaling. 10
Okay,
seconds ago. 10 seconds ago. Tell me the president has almost no power.
You got like skates on ice, Papa. That's what you're doing.
If I may,
you guys are asking, for example, why haven't they done the housing thing in 4 years? They haven't had Congress.
I know there's a lot of interrupting back and forth, so I'll try to talk. I'll try to just get my
guys.
Go ahead,
please. 1 second. I know, Rob, you want to talk, but Turk has been waiting, and Joe has been waiting very patiently. I have you after them. I just wanted to make sure I check with them. Turk, were you still waiting, or has the moment passed?
I can still bring it back to the topic that you brought up, Dylan, if you'd like me to do that. If
I do Joe first because it might be relevant?
Sure, yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Pisco, for having to push at you too. A little frustration that I do have with the Biden-Harris administration, and then by extension, now the Harris administration, and Rob brought this out a little bit in his argumentation, is that there are still issues within underserved communities that haven't been actualized and promised. And something that I wish was clearly articulated in the Harris administration would be something like, to get very sort of specific, we saw in New Jersey about a drop in monthly revenue from hospitals across the board, anywhere from 30 to 40%. And that's a little bit higher in more underserved areas like Camden and Newark. And something that the person that I voted for the Senate, Larry Hamm, was advocating for was an expansion of the infrastructure bill to cover things like emergency centers and hospitals, which is something that currently doesn't exist in the infrastructure bill as currently. So that's a frustration that I have with the Harris administration. And if we want to get really specific in the ideas of
Biden administration, you mean?
In the, what did I say? What's
Harris administration?
In the Biden experience. Oh, that slip.
Yeah, it's really difficult to differentiate the two nowadays, isn't it?
I mean, that's not
considered he's on the beach every day, you know.
That's not the hero there in the misspeak, but my concern there is that there are things that could help. And I think it is legitimate to question the 3 million houses plan.
If I may jump in, because I do have something to add on this specific point. So to the points that were addressed here.
Can I finish my house thing and then I'll land the plane and go off to you, Rob? Is that all right? Or yeah. So like the thing is, like we saw, for example, like in the housing crisis, right? For Black households, about 8% of Black households were lost during that from 2008. Something that I think could have been really cool to hear and see is an acknowledgement from whether it be the Biden administration or the Harris campaign articulating that, because something that would be cool to have coupled along with that is in those sort of first buyer initiatives and stuff like that to include individuals who lost their home during those foreclosures for people with subprime mortgages. That I think would be a very easy rhetorical thing that could move a lot of people in the center. A lot of people in the center probably were affected by that statistically, which obviously would have an impact for Black voters in particular, but also to all voters who were affected by that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Let Rob. I have a response, but I just want to let Rob talk.
Oh, for sure. I screwed stuff up. Okay, to respond to this, first I want to go. I'll swear I'll get to right to what Joe said there, sort of in the spirit of it. But notice how in all of this talk about jobs, I could talk about the specific job numbers. Yes, unemployment numbers look like they're doing okay. That's because it doesn't count people that are no longer trying to get work. Labor force participation is still lower than it was in pre-pandemic levels. What happened was a lot of people got so frustrated after the lockdowns and things like that they never tried to go back to work, in addition to increased welfare benefits and PPP loans and other stimulus checks that we're sending them. Many people never went back to work. So unemployment numbers look way better than they actually are. The real unemployment number is probably around 7%. And none of that matters anyways. The fact that you have to work multiple jobs and we count each of those multiple jobs as a job, but people's still real wage growth is barely moving the needle since the Harris-Biden administration, where under Trump it was going up by leaps and bounds. So people know, and that's why all the polling shows that people feel they were economically better under the Trump administration than under the Harris-Biden administration, which is why what I said, which Pisco deflected from, was no one wants to talk about that. Instead, you'll talk about one random policy. Oh, they're going to spend money and build houses, that's it. And the rest of it will be, as you've seen IRI try to do here, make excuses that in the first term, congressional term, when Harris and Biden were there, where they controlled the House and had the tiebreaker in the Senate, they didn't do any of this shit. And what's IRI's response to that? Well, that's because Trump didn't have a peaceful transition of power. Exactly. What they're trying to do is cover for Harris which is why she's not out there talking to the American people, talking to adversarial press. She's hiding, just like Biden hid, because they can't defend their record. And to the extent that they're trying to come up with policies, most of it's just cribbing things Republicans and Trump have said, to the point where even Joe Lewis correctly points out he's frustrated as a lefty that Harris is actually on stage talking about how she supports gun rights. They always become more Republican because they understand that their policies will not get them elected, which is why Bernie Sanders said the other day, oh, in reality, what's going on is Harris has to say what she needs to say to get elected. Exactly. That's how bad she is. She's a chameleon. It's ran by people behind her. She's not really doing anything. So the question I have for Pisco, to pivot off what Joe's saying, is, one, when Harris was there and was basically running the show because Biden had dementia, which you and all of the Democrats covered up for because you're liars that don't care about democracy, why didn't she do any of these policies like create massive amounts of houses? Why did the policies that they pushed through end up leading to massive inflation? Why did they lie to people over and over again and say, actually, the economy is great when people were struggling miserably? And even if they couldn't have got it done through Congress in the past 2 years, I disagree with that because they basically got everything they wanted in the Inflation Reduction Act, which was basically Green New Deal light, as Joe Biden admitted the other day. And lastly, they tried to push through shit and congressional or executive orders that they knew would be overturned, like the bailouts of student loans. So why didn't they try executive orders to build housing and to reduce inflation? The truth is because they didn't give a shit, just like they lie to, maybe you'll appreciate this, Joe, black Americans every election year. For 2 years, they don't give a shit about black Americans until it's an election year, and then all of a sudden they pretend to give a shit. They don't care about people in rural America, and then all of a sudden they pretend to give a shit. Why didn't they do these amazing things? None of you have an answer. The Democrats were in charge. Harris was in charge, and she didn't do shit. The country was way better under Trump. The country is way better under Trump.
Same question around on Trump.
That was an extensive question, and I don't just want to throw.
I can answer everything you said
too. But one moment, I do also want to say, if you want to ask questions to anybody on the panel or the panel itself, donate your questions, put a message, and the highest ones will get read. We're shilling here.
I have a question. Hold on.
Chat. His chat crazy. They're about to donate and say some crazy questions.
It's an interesting point to me that you guys want to pick a fight on policy when it came to the debate. What policies did Trump articulate during that debate besides?
Wait, are you surprised?
I finished. Rob went for a bit. I want to hear an extended response.
Why are we doing whataboutism?
Answer to his question. Cavalcade nonsense.
If you want an answer to the question, Biden got way more legislation passed. Biden got way more legislation passed during his first 2 years than Trump did. The very first thing that Trump tried to do when he was president was repeal and replace Obamacare. He failed. The next thing he did was the tax cuts that the Republicans had been clamoring to do for decades. And then what did he get done after that? What were his major signature pieces of legislation?
I'll respond to this.
You really want to compare the legislative track record between Biden and Trump?
Yeah, give me 30 seconds give me 30 seconds, I'll answer this. Because what Kamala Harris is running on is being an agent of change. What you can't get around is the American people know that economically and security-wise, they were better off under a Trump administration than a Harris administration. So what's happening is the Harris administration is trying to run on, we're the agents of change, things will be different. To why I say then why, if she's been there in charge for 4 years, haven't they done any of these things? You then respond, let me finish, you respond with, but they actually got a lot of shit done. They actually got to do a lot of what they wanted. Exactly. And the American people are not happy with it. So then your counter argument, which is, well, they couldn't get things done that they wanted done, but this time they will, is bullshit, as you're admitting. They did get a ton legislatively done, and America has given it the thumbs down.
Hang on a second.
Why did we have a historically good midterm? Why did we expand our majority in the Senate during an economic downturn? Why did we make Trump a one-term president, the first since George H.W. Bush? If your leadership and Trump's leadership and your policies were so popular,
it's because of social issues. It has nothing to do with the economy.
During an economic downturn, it should have been a bloodbath. So what you guys are saying, is that your policies are not popular.
No, people knew that Trump's economy got shut down. They knew it, that it got shut down when they were thriving.
Because of a pandemic.
Quick thing, your mic
which was overblown.
Like, when you talk, it like peaks and it's kind of hard to hear you. I'm just letting you know. Pisco, you wanted to go?
Yeah, I want to answer to Rob's cavalcade of nonsense earlier, and so he started off by saying, and can we have quiet in the peanut gallery, Andrea? Like, I don't know why you feel the need every 2 seconds. I think like you're scared of when I talk because you only interrupt me. I mean, is it going to be a problem?
You were talking, dummy.
All right. So first of all, he starts by the assumption that we are not okay with speaking about the general economic policy of Harris and Biden, respectively, in terms of what their administration has done. We absolutely are willing to talk about it. We were specifically talking about one policy because that's what Andrew asked us. He asked us to talk about one policy. But you think that we're dodging something. We're dodging the general economic character of what's been going on. We do not shy away from the fact that over the course of the last
what's an
4
opportunity
years,
economy?
I haven't mentioned the word opportunity economy at all.
Well, we're talking about the debate, right?
Have you heard me?
I mean,
No, we're
what's
talking
an
about the
opportunity
leadership of
economy?
the country. We're talking about the leadership of this country.
we are.
Who's better positioned to do it, and based on the previous
we are.
administration,
We've
right?
moved on. We've moved on.
Right.
I want to hear the end of Pisco's statement. And
Yeah,
then you can talk, Gibbs.
So
Also, Turk, I have you written down. Eventually, I will bring it back to you.
So he asked, why haven't he done all these things in 4 years? It's an absolutely sound answer that IRI gave, that, first of all, we were cleaning up a mess. We were in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and it was a crisis. The first thing that the Biden administration did was pass a Recovery Act. You could say it's inflationary, but you look at economic analysis after the fact, they don't attribute it, the inflationary effect of that policy or other policies to those specific pieces of legislation. In fact, it's a global inflation crisis that is facing the entire world. And as IRI or Hutch, I think, pointed out, America, relatively speaking, has recovered better than the other G7 countries, better than the other advanced economies. We got a shit ton of legislation passed that specifically relates to the economy, whether that's the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, which will absolutely benefit the economy in the future, and other pieces of legislation. I'm willing to fight and defend this administration for what it stood for and what it got done. You point to the fact that there are bad polls. Trump had bad polls in his term. If we just look to polls to determine, or the general trend of the economy and this kind of correlation equals causation analysis, I mean, that would be a great way to defend like the policies of George Bush right before the Great Recession, right? You have to look more than just how the economy generally was doing or what people think about it generally, and look to the policies themselves and what the likely effects of them were.
I think going into the election.
And as to the lying point about,
is there any more time we can give you, Pisco?
The last point I'll make is no thinking person thinks that Kamala Harris was in charge of the administration for the past 3 or 4 years. That's pure fantasy. If you read any of the reports of the insiders of who's operating things behind the scenes, or whether Joe Biden was in charge in the first few years, no one is saying that Kamala Harris is running the show.
If I may, real quick, just to respond to that point,
I'd love
real
to
quick.
get in there too.
Gibbs, do you care if they take from you? You were next.
I mean, Rob, if it's quick, I want to get in here, Rob. But
Harris herself has said of many of these issues, she was the last person in the room. And my statement is, Harris is just like Biden is an empty suit that people behind the scenes will be running. The same people behind the scenes running the Biden economy or administration will be running hers. So the same people that will be in charge under Harris will be in charge there. The American people have rejected, and the data shows that economic data is abysmal. You can lie all you want, but that's the truth.
But people are going right now. Hang on, real quick, IRI, and then I'll turn it right over. But right now, people are experiencing high gas prices, high grocery prices, their day-to-day living, right, expenses have shot through the roof, and you're moving into this election promising them, well, in the future it'll be better, when under Trump it already was better. So it's easy for people when they're moving into the voting booth in order for Republicans to point this out, and that's what people are talking about. That's what all the buzz is.
Yeah, I mean, I want to jump in.
Why isn't Trump?
I know you want to jump
right
in,
now.
Gibbs, but we had 2 righties. We have to have a lefty response. Then I'll throw it back to you, Gibbs. I'm sorry, but there has to be a balance.
I just want to ask my conservative panel people, like, if everything that you're saying right now, that Biden's presidency has just been this disaster for everybody, why isn't he up 10 points right now?
Because he got taken off of the
he was dominating against Biden, and a part of what Kamala's doing.
He's not now. Why isn't he beating Kamala by 10 points?
Now, right?
Everybody's miserable, right?
Because she's not Biden. I mean, here's the thing: the Republicans and a lot of average people are looking at this as the age-old expression: a bird in hand is better than 2 in the bush, right? They know what they got with Trump. They don't know what they're getting with Kamala. It's a whole lot of nothing. We know y'all been lying to us the whole time. The jobs report, it was lying. You literally just lied on this panel and said only 5% of people have side jobs. According to Market Watch, as of April 16th, 54% of people have side gigs. That's a lot more than 5%, Papa. I'm sorry. Y'all are just lying. Yeah, Market Watch. I can post it for you. I got it. Yeah, Market Watch. I got it. I got the link if you need it. I knew people were going to ask for sources. Papa Gibbs came ready. Secondly, if we go back to my notes here, y'all threw a de facto coup after y'all told us, hey, for months, years, Biden was fine. And y'all took Biden down quicker than a whore on nickel night. That motherfucker was stacking out of there so fast. I've never seen anything like
prom dress.
This
Trump
guy's
Our candidate was
literally
losing
on
the
the beach
election,
drinking-
and we pressured him out,
he's-
and now
he's
our current
literally on the
candidate
beach.
is leading the
And
election.
it was
he's
based, and I'm glad we
he's
did it, and it
literally
was good, it was
drinking
not
on. He's literally
anti-democratic.
drinking. He's
It's
literally
unfortunate
drinking.
for you guys.
He's literally drinking on the beach right now.
Guys, there's 3 people talking at the same time.
Pisco
Gibbs,
spent the
Gibbs,
entire
I'm almost
night.
done. Yeah,
wait. Gibbs, I'll give you 15 more seconds. Then
That's
we'll
fine.
have
He's-
a lefty respond, and I'm throwing over to Turk because Turk is gonna cry.
He's been
He's,
patient.
he's literally
He's
on the
been
beach
patient.
sitting here drinking Mai Tais. Whenever we look at Trump, when he left office, inflation 1.9%. It went up 9% in the first year Biden went up, and it's gone skyrocketed. Since then, it's been dog
Across
shit
the
ever
world,
since
Gibbs,
the
across
Biden.
the
world. Wait.
Did-
Why did it go up around the world then? Why did inflation go up around
Are
the
we the
world? Is Biden
superpower?
responsible for that?
Yeah, we're the superpower. We're the
Oh,
leader.
could it be? Could it have something to do
Because
with the
we
world
caused
reserve currency
inflation
being
in
the
France.
dollar?
I mean, yeah,
does it have anything to do with
don't
that?
pay attention to that, though, guys.
You think it's the world reserve currency? That's why.
What is the
everyone's-
lingua franca most?
Wait, wait,
English too, right? I mean, I don't know.
Why is it that inflation grew across the
Bro.
world? Andrew, go ahead.
Bro, of course, American policies and American economics are going to affect
Too
inflation
much money,
all
Answer
over
the
not enough
question.
the world.
goods.
I just did. I just
American
Too
answered
much
it.
policies.
money,
Which
not
policies?
enough goods.
They don't like
Which
your answer, so it's
policies?
not going to count.
Which
Yeah,
policies?
no,
Which
no
policies?
shit.
Which policies?
No
Wait,
shit.
Andrew, can I just ask
American
Which
policies?
policies?
Which policies?
I
Dude.
just wanted to get clarification.
Which policies?
What-
Stop
wait,
Stop filibustering.
Can you let the
can't-
mod speak for 10 seconds?
This ain't the whatever
Let-
podcast. Why don't you
let-
answer which policies?
Okay, wait. Okay,
Bro.
let's stop for a
Bro,
second.
I'm sorry, is it your show?
I wanted to, okay, Andrew, what do you think caused the inflation crisis globally? And then we'll
No,
go
no,
to
which
Turk.
policies?
Which policies?
Yeah,
led to
so
that?
I would say
Mhm.
that the Federal Reserve and the policies the Fed has, which has inflated the currency artificially, and the reason that they did this is because they needed to pump billions of dollars out into the economy for all these social relief programs, has caused not only inflation in the United States, but has been extended to our neighbors as well. Especially
Who signed
anybody
the CARES
who
Act into law?
Bro, you gonna let me finish?
Who signed the CARES Act into
Are you
law?
gonna let me finish,
Federal
Hutch?
Reserve signed that?
Well,
You gonna
Was that
gotta
Trump?
Give Andrew some time to respond quick.
You gonna let me finish, Hutch? Yeah. So I would say that was one of the primary reasons. And if you
Not
say, well, wait,
COVID?
bro, stop talking so I can finish my point. Remember how you were just bitching 5 seconds ago that I kept
Yeah.
cutting you off even when I wasn't cutting you off?
Yeah,
You
you're
just
all
pointed
cutting
the-
each other
Yeah,
off.
The Federal
Remember I
Reserve.
wasn't-
You didn't
remember I
really say what the
wasn't
Federal
cutting you
Reserve
off?
did, and then you
Yeah, I
talked about
did.
it.
Wait,
It's
wait,
okay.
wait,
I
this
literally
is
did,
taking too
Pisco.
much time than it needs to. Andrew,
Literally
finish what-
did. Why do you think you saw everybody nodding their head? They totally agree with me. So on top of this, Pisco, just so you know,
Yeah.
yes, they pumped it in. Now, is Donald Trump responsible
They
for some of this
pumped it in.
policy? Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean the Federal
I
Reserve
literally
pumped it
just
in?
said.
Wait, let me
Interrupting
finish.
the guy.
Okay, let him
Bro.
finish.
Again, calm down, Pisco. Yes, Fed policy led to massive inflation. Yes, Pisco, because the United States government was pumping billions of dollars artificially in order to take care of this Relief Act. Now, you can say that, oh, that's Trump's fault. That was passed under a bipartisan agenda. All sorts of people wanted this. All sorts of special interest groups wanted this. Now, absent C-19 and the lockdowns, Trump's economy was fucking roaring. And you have only just now successfully pivoted away again from the point that you have not addressed what Kamala Harris's policies are going to be to lower gas prices, lower food prices, lower the inflation rates, or any of these. You just say, well, you're going to build 3 million new homes. Yay, Pisco. Can you answer any of the questions
when
which
you
have
say
been
the Federal
asked
Reserve,
to you?
when you say the Federal Reserve pumped it up, are you saying lowered interest rates?
No, Pisco.
What do you mean by
if
pump?
you
What did the
increase-
Federal Reserve do?
I'm
when
going to
you say-
explain.
Yeah,
No,
go for it.
then let me explain. If you increase the money supply, you inflate the money supply, right?
How did
Do
they?
you agree?
How did they increase the money supply? How
Bro,
did the
are
Federal
you
Reserve do that?
answer my question first?
I agree that
Right. So if
It's
the United
inflationary
States
to increase the money
government,
supply.
if the United States government calls for billions of dollars from the Fed and for the Fed to print
from the Fed.
billions, it's going to increase the money supply, thus increase inflation. This is basic, Pisco.
does the Federal Reserve make appropriations? Who makes appropriations?
That would be Congress.
Okay, so the Federal Reserve didn't do shit that you're pointing to. What you're pointing to are acts of Congress, isn't it? Not Federal Reserve policy.
No, that's not all that happens, as you know, Pisco.
No.
So the M2 money.
Wait, hang on a second. Go ahead.
Bro.
Do you want me to
Bro.
answer real quick? The M2 money supply. The M2 money
Somebody
supply
needs
that
to be
went,
able to.
Okay, the M2 money supply that went up 50% is from the Federal Reserve. That means the Federal Reserve increased the amount of dollars in circulation by about 50% since like 2020. Is what you're really trying to tell me is not $1 of that creation was except what Congress told them they had to do in specific bills? Is that your argument?
What I am saying is the Federal Reserve, to increase the money supply, typically will lower interest rates. That's how Fed policy works. When you're talking about taking out loans, the government sells things called bonds. These are
lowering interest rates increases the money supply, Pisco. And if it increases the money supply, it creates inflation, Pisco.
But you didn't point to
you fucking idiot. I just explained this to you 5 times, you fucking moron.
Andrew, you sound really upset right now.
God, what a dummy.
You did not.
I literally just explained this to you.
You did not point to Federal Reserve policy just then. What you did.
I literally just
you're
did.
Banging on the table. You're banging on the table because I properly told you.
Pisco.
Oh, wow.
You're not presenting any economic policy.
Does it increase the money supply? Does it increase? Does it increase the money supply when they lower the interest rate?
The Federal Reserve is a central bank.
You're not going to answer the question, right?
The Federal Reserve is a central bank. It is not the one who is.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It sounds like you're having some
central bank. I didn't know that.
It sounds like you're having some difficulty, so I'm going to explain it to you. Okay. So
explain it.
The Federal Reserve doesn't like make appropriations or take out loans.
Nobody said they did, Pisco.
Okay, the people who take out loans and are the federal government, all right? So when the Congress writes a law, an appropriation by law, they will need to fund it, and they fund it through the Treasury. And if the Treasury wants to wants to borrow money, they will issue bonds. The Federal Reserve affects the money supply in different ways. So I'm asking you, what Federal Reserve policy was causing the inflationary problem?
So I'm going to tell you again, for the 14th time, if the Fed lowers the interest rates, it's going to increase the money supply.
Okay.
And if it is, Pisco, my turn, Pisco, my turn, Pisco, stop talking, Pisco. It's my turn, Pisco. Stop filibustering, Pisco. Stop filibustering, Pisco. Stop spurging, Pisco. Stop spurging.
I'm going to meet you both. Okay. Andrew, you got 20 seconds. Pisco, you got 20 seconds. Then everybody else gets to talk because.
Great. So as you
just. I want my last question.
Yeah, that's nice, Pisco.
Here's the question.
This guy's still spurging. You're still spurging, bro. You're still spurging, Pisco.
Okay, I'm muting you both. This is the order. This is how it's gonna go. Pisco, you got 10 seconds to ask a question, and 10 seconds to say whatever else you want to say. Andrew, then you get 10 seconds after, and 10 seconds after that. If anything else is said that's like, oh my god, I want to respond to that, it'll have to be somebody else. It'll just have to be somebody else. Because Turk wants to talk. Okay.
Andrew just said that the Fed policy.
Why did you just let him filibuster me? Burns? I was in the middle of my answer. You let the guy filibuster. Let me finish my answer. No, bullshit. He filibustered me. I'm not doing it. No way. No fucking way. I'm gonna let him filibuster in the middle of my answer.
You're gonna respond. It just said you're gonna be able to respond.
Yeah, let me respond, and then he can answer the question.
You're gonna respond.
He can ask the question after I answer the first one.
I want to because this is chaos.
No, this is bullshit. All the guy had to do was not talk while I finish, Burns.
I gotta think about the other people. He's gonna get 20 seconds, then you'll be able to respond. You'll be able to talk, Andrew.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. You can let him filibuster.
Still, Pisco, go.
Andrew just pointed to the Federal Reserve policy of lowering interest rates as the cause for global inflation. And he knows now, and that's why he's trying to stop me from talking, that who was pushing for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates in the lead up to the election was none other than Donald J. Trump. That's my statement. He can talk.
Andrew?
Yeah, so again, if you increase the amount of money supply, when you lower the corporate tax, that's good. You want them to borrow tons and tons of money. You want tons of printing when the influx is going to corporations which are going to expand. That's an ROI. That's a return on investment. You want that. Under Biden, this is a totally different situation. He did exactly the opposite. He has been strangling corporations of much needed money. So has the entire administration. So all you're doing, Pisco, you're just shifting the goalpost again. I knew exactly what you were going to say. I was happy to respond to it before you ever even said it.
Turk?
So this exchange in the debate is a prime example of what happened in the debate that happened the other night. People kept going to the past and Trump's policies and why Trump and Orange Man are bad instead of actually going and asking the different people on the stage pointed questions about their specific plan going into 2024. Pisco, I wanted to talk to you, but I don't want to hear your voice or Andrew's anymore. I want to ask the panel, do we feel like we got to learn more about Kamala Harris's actual preferred policies and some of the details? Because like Joe mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that wasn't done in the previous administration. She wasn't really pressed on some of the guts of her proposals. So it's like, do we really feel like both of the candidates were questioned adequately about their current proposals going into 2024?
Yeah,
It wasn't
nobody
a
answered
super
my question
policy-
earlier about opportunity economy. No one was able to define that. I'm very happy to hear your answer.
Well, she defined it with different policies, like expanding the child tax credit, the $25,000 grant for first-time
Republican
home
policy.
buyers.
So again,
The
my question is
the
not
expansion
what
of
is
the
the
earned
high-level
income tax
policy.
credit?
My question
Child
is
tax
People
credit?
talking at once. 1 second. It's Turk's question, but there was something there I'm going to let finish, and we'll throw it back to Turk. Hutch, you were responding to Gibbs?
Yeah, the child tax credit, which has been a Republican policy for
Why
I
did
don't know, as long as I've been
the
alive.
Republicans block it from being permanent?
Why?
They blocked it in the Senate from being permanent.
I don't know,
They
strategically,
didn't take up the issue. You're calling it a Republican policy. Democrats were the ones that were trying.
She just picked it up, just like she picked up the
Why
no
did they
taxes
block
on
it?
tips,
Why
just
did-
like she's put Trump's border plan,
Okay.
a wall in her ads. She has no
Well-
real plans. She just
Well,
listens to what people
Republicans
like
blocked that
trends,
policy
and
for
she
the record.
posts it.
Anybody can look that up.
Oh,
So this
yeah,
is a
just like
tangent discussion.
hold on,
It's
this
not
is
answering
total
the
bullshit.
question I asked.
Just like it's not answering the question you asked. He didn't answer the
She gave
question
more
I
details
asked.
on policy
He's
than
over here
Donald
just
Trump did.
lying.
When Donald Trump was asked about his healthcare policy, he said he had a concept of a plan.
Wow, and you have zero
one of,
plan.
that was one
options.
of,
That's not
if
even true. He
the
answered that he
worst
used what was already in
I have
place.
ever heard a candidate give on a debate
Oh
stage.
my
You're
God,
a presidential
you're
candidate,
misrepresenting
and you
what he
say you
said.
have a concept of a plan,
I can answer
Turk,
that at some point.
and you
if
guys
like.
want to make this about
Turk.
policy?
So
Literally
that was
nothing
the
worse than
sound bite
anyone
that
ever said.
So that's the soundbite that everyone's running with. If you go back 30 seconds, a minute to that
Right.
entire stretch of questioning, he goes and says, we're not going to replace it unless we can get a bill that is cheaper and it has better coverage than the current plan.
He doesn't have any ideas?
They're being dishonest. I don't know why you're
listened to the
did.
soundbite.
No, I did, but it's
the
his
current
job
plan
to
for-
pitch
No,
a plan.
you didn't hear it. You listened to
I
the
did.
soundbite.
If I may,
Yeah.
if
He
I may
says,
jump in
I'm
here.
not going to replace it unless there's a more detailed plan.
Turk.
It's his job as a candidate to articulate a plan.
Turk, if I may,
I don't know how
I'll
they-
answer your question, Gibbs, if I may. Right? So to answer that question, what he's saying is he has concepts, but in the confines of this, as I think we'll all agree, not even the best of debaters can articulate a well thought out, complicated policy in a platform like this. And so what he's giving is a general answer, just like Kamala Harris constantly gave general answers. So he said, look, we're not going to replace what's
Wait.
there unless we have a bill there. We have a
Wait.
concept. So they have concepts such as they want the free market more involved and things
Rob.
like that. If I may, I'll finish. I'm trying to not
Okay.
interrupt
All
anyone.
right.
So
Okay.
I don't think I've interrupted anyone. So I'm trying to hope I get the same courtesy. When we're talking about specifically with Kamala Harris, is this debate was for different things for different people, and you may like that or not like it, but it is the truth. Trump wanted to do things like not come off as unhinged, pivot or pin Kamala Harris down on what she actually stands for. I think that he ultimately lost the debate because he failed to do some of those things. So your criticisms of him not putting out policies, that wasn't really what he needed to do for two reasons. One, because we could already see what the track record of a Trump administration would be. And despite what you people are going to try to say, and it's going to be avoided over and over through this debate, I hope we could all agree that the election should just be a referendum of, do you think the economy and the border was better under Trump or under the Harris-Biden administration? No matter what you try to say that, oh, but she's going to do all this new stuff. She's been there. Her people have been there for 3.5 years. They haven't done any of this. That's number one. But second, he's already put out a bunch of policy plans as well. Kamala Harris has literally hid from the press, didn't have policies up on her very website until a day before the election. And those policies she put up was literally the metadata showed just copied and pasted from Biden's policy, further proving she would just be an extension of, I promise that. Just let me finish this one last thing. So Kamala Harris, just because she said 2 or 3 things about policy and Trump didn't give a specific policy to your liking as much, it still doesn't answer the effect that Kamala Harris has flip-flopped on every major policy description she had in 2020. And the 30-second soundbite that she said, we're going to build 3 million homes and give people $25,000, does nothing to rebut that.
Okay, so can I ask, Trump's solution for the housing crisis is to drill, baby, drill, shut
Yes.
the already shut down border, and kick out 20 million migrants.
border's not shut
Do you
down.
think that is a
the
reasonable
border's not
solution
shut
that will
down.
bring
That's a
down the
lie.
cost of? Do you think? Okay, so what's his plan then?
Okay, his border
Well,
is...
first of all, the border's not shut down. Let's just get that lie out of the way.
Go ahead, Turk.
So-
You can answer.
Why-
Biden's executive order. Biden's executive order did shut down the border when it. Sorry, go ahead,
Hold on.
Byron.
Immigration has
How many
gone up
people are crossing on a
62% in
daily
every
basis
state.
now?
Hold on.
I will
Immigration
throw
has
an
gone
olive
up
branch here.
62% in every state except for Texas, where Texas has implemented Operation Lone Star since 2001 and has been dramatically successful, despite the treasonous Biden-Harris administration coming and trying to stop them from, enforcing Texas borders. So every success we've had on immigration has been despite the impediment of the Biden-Harris administration.
If I may, Hutch, do you mind mind if I?
No, I want to.
And any
IRA
of
was
you
the one
can-
talking, so I want to throw it back to IRA.
And
Can
I
any of
want
you
to answer IRA's
conservatives-
question.
Okay, I
Please,
will throw it
I'd
to you
love
after.
to hear to any
Yeah.
of you conservatives
Yeah,
tell us
so
what
you-
Trump's solution is to bring down the cost of housing.
I ask you, do you know what drill baby drill means?
Well, we're already setting a record for oil production at 13.3 million
That is
barrels. per day.
precisely
I can answer
my
your
all.
question,
No,
too.
Donald
so
Trump
this is
did. So
precisely.
Biden has proven that we can drill more under Biden than Trump. So what would Trump do to increase oil
And what
production?
and
Biden's
what
not-
happened
More
once we
oil,
started
baby.
increasing oil production?
What?
What happened when we started increasing oil production under Joe Biden?
I don't know.
The
We started
inflation
increasing
rate
it-
started to
we-
go down. The cost of transit of material, the cost of production of material reduced. There are several different economic factors that can be eliminated and are addressed by drill baby drill. And when Trump says, I'm going to do that even more, it's going to be even
How
more.
can we do more? We're setting a record under Biden that Trump was unable to do. Trump gave them the green light, and Biden broke the record. We're over 13 million barrels per day.
And
You're
he's
in a
going to
fantasy
do
land that we're going to do
more.
more. We're
There
just going
is
to do
enough.
more.
It's not true.
There
How?
are plenty of
How?
oil reserves. There are plenty of oil reserves. We can go to more federal lands. We can unlock more and more offshore drilling. There is
He
plenty
emptied
of
the
oil
oil
to be
reserves to
extracted
flood
from
the-
our nation.
He emptied our reserves to flood the market to drive the price down.
You
say
realize that
when
we
he
just
started-
found some of
you
the
say
biggest
that
oil
when he
fields ever in
started
Texas.
I
drilling
addressed
more
IRA's
oil,
question.
That
I didn't
You
hear
said-
Hutch just say. I heard like the first 3 words from Hutch, and then I heard nothing else. So Hutch, could you finish?
well, he mentioned the oil reserves. You guys don't give Biden credit because he emptied our reserves, flooded the market, and drove the cost of oil down. You
But
said
why did
when
he do that
started-
when we
have
Hold
zero
on,
reserves
hold on,
back up
one more
after he stopped
thing
doing
real quick. One more thing real quick. You say that when he started producing more oil, the cost of inflation went down. He started ramping up oil production right away. Do you guys
No, he
understand
didn't.
that when
That
yes,
was
he
not
did.
right
You can
away.
look at the graph. Yes, I can link it in the chat right here. There's a domestic
It took
crude oil
a
production
couple
right
of
here.
years for Joe Biden to finally start actually increasing oil capacity across the
That's
nation.
no, it's not true.
All right, then
Here.
send the link. Let's
Let me-
talk about the
yes.
link.
What's
It's just-
stopping
you can just
inflation was
look up
lowering
US
inflation, and what's brought us down to 2.5 inflation is the Federal Reserve raising interest rates.
That is a contributing factor,
Under
I
Joe
agree.
Biden, the Federal Reserve has had excellent policy raising interest rates to lower inflation. Under Donald Trump, throughout his presidency, he was asking always to lower interest rates.
The
That's
pri-
it.
the- it is
When
not.
you're-
Can I just ask
this
a
is-
clarifying
Waiting.
question?
Rob, you've been waiting, right? If I
Yes.
remember correctly.
Yes,
Oh,
I've been
wait,
waiting.
wait, wait.
I just it's not just inflation isn't just about interest rates. Lowering interest rates itself, it doesn't create additional dollars. The problem is the policies that were largely that I am fully throwing in
What
all
did
the
you just
branches.
say?
I said that the lowering, man, Peace guy, I got to really
It
speak slow
increases
for
the
you.
money supply.
Let me.
That's Econ 101. I don't know
That
what I
is
have to
not
say. It does.
economy.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that is not
inflation is
economy
below
one.
3%,
That is
right?
that is not economy 101. I guess I'll have to explain this slowly for Pisco. Pisco, is your argument that the act of lowering interest rates simultaneously by de facto creates additional dollars?
Yes.
Yeah, that is incorrect. What happens is there is no connection whatsoever from lowering rates to the creation of dollars. Those are two separate policies. Many times what happens is as follows. Interest rates are lowered, which means that people are more likely to borrow money. Then once people start borrowing money, the Fed will decide that, oh, now that there's more money in circulation, we need more money. Therefore, they create more dollars. So you are fundamentally incorrect in what you're saying. The reason that inflation occurred and that dollars were being printed was because Republicans, including Trump, supported disastrous lockdown policies under COVID. And you could criticize Trump for that, and he should be criticized. Unfortunately for you all, the Democrats and people like Harris and Biden wanted to do it way worse, and they continued to do things way worse, even once you had a Harris-Biden administration, which stymied our economy. Now, the question
Any
I wanted to
economist
ask...
will tell you that lowering interest rates increases the money supply. That is a relationship that is
You can
well
say-
known. It doesn't have to
Pisco,
do with the physical
Pisco,
printing of money.
that's-
That everything else is
That's
code.
not the fact that you don't fundamentally understand how it works, and you're saying one necessarily leads to another is different than the answer you gave me that it is the same thing. Lowering rates is the direct
Yeah,
printing
that's
of
true.
money.
No,
that
that
is
is
not.
true.
So you were fundamentally wrong.
It does lead
increases
to
more
more
dollars,
borrowing.
yes.
Yes, which will then it lead to more dollars. I agree with that. But Rob is right that you said that just lowering the interest rate by itself doesn't. They still have to borrow the money, Pisco.
Oh
Right.
my God! Wait. So are you suggesting to me that there has ever been a situation in our history where the lowering of interest rates has
No,
not been
Pisco, he was just
associated
correcting you. That's all.
What's the correction? In fact,
Well, the correction is that you said by
the money
itself,
supply.
by itself, it does that. It doesn't. He said you still have to borrow the money. Is what he's saying.
Yes.
Okay, does printing the money increase the money supply?
Yes.
Yes.
But wait, no, you still have to hand out the money, right? You still need to
No, that's
move
not
the money
true.
to a
Printing-
place. You still
that's
have to
not-
have it in
that's
circulation.
not- that's not true at all. That's not true at all. That's
If
not
you
true
print
at all.
more money, you have more money whether you hand it out or not.
That's right.
Because you got blown the hell out,
That's not-
Andrew, on the other question of interest.
Nobody.
Doesn't
No,
mean
you've never
that you
blown
can-
anybody out, Pisco, ever in your
Oh,
life.
I just did. Oh,
All right,
I didn't.
now if I
Never
could,
did. Never.
my friend, I'm gonna jump in and finish my point here.
Everybody is very wrecked. Everybody is very pwned and owned in all types
Just
of
Pisco.
pwnage. Everybody, in fact, including me. There are people who have been waiting, so I do want to throw to them. I'm sorry to just derail. I just want Rob to finish up.
Thank you.
And we'll have one response, and then we got to go to Gibbs and IRI, who have been waiting patiently.
There's plenty more to say on inflation. Just to say that under Biden it was way worse. Everyone knows it. They're trying to fudge the numbers. People don't want to talk about it. That's why the American people think the economy is better under Trump. My friend Hutch, though, I wanted to get you involved and ask you a question. I think you erroneously say that the border is secure now. I don't believe that, but let's just say hypothetically that's true. You think that Biden achieved that by executive order? A simple yes, no, be correct or sufficient. His executive order did that?
After pursuing a bipartisan immigration bill that they negotiated for 5 months with Langford and Sinema, yes.
Okay, gotcha. My question is, why did Biden say the border was secure for 3 years and not issue an executive order if he could have done it all the while?
There's a difference between.
I think what he's doing is illegal, and I disagree with it, and I condemn the Biden administration for doing an illegal executive action.
Okay, so my point is, okay, go ahead, and then I'll respond quickly. Go ahead, Hutch.
The problem with the border is our asylum laws. You guys understand this, right? Our
No, it's
asylum
not.
laws are.
Holy
Yes,
Christ.
yes, it is. Anybody can go. Wait, hold on. Anybody can come to our border, and as long as they go through legal means and they meet a certain set of criteria, they can apply for asylum. And when they apply for asylum, they are allowed to come into the country, sometimes with an ankle monitor, sometimes with a burner phone. And this backlog takes anywhere between 5 to 8 years. Our immigration laws were written in the 60s, well before we saw the level of influx that we've seen during recent times. If you want to address the problem at the border meaningfully, you need a bill through Congress, which is why he worked with Republicans. Langford is a MAGA Republican. This is not a rhino. He himself and McConnell and Lindsey Graham all admitted, and Trump himself admitted, that Trump killed that bill for political reasons.
If I can, real quick, I'll address this in 30. I'll just please, I'd like to address this for 30 seconds. Please, Gibbs, let me address this for 30 seconds. Gibbs, you're going to ruin the point. You'll ruin the point. Thanks so much, Gibbs.
I'm doing the border here.
Hutch live on air.
Thanks for leaving him run from the point, Gibbs. That's cool. He'll squirm away now. Thank you.
Don't worry, it's fine. Let's talk the border. First of all, let me tell you how dishonest this is being. 2016, Trump posted a bill. He wanted to get a bill through Congress. It had everything they had in the most recent bill, except it had more. The only thing not included was the Dreamers. This is how fucking the Democrats work. They use people like the Dreamers, and then they don't even put them on the newest bill and even include them. And so they sit here and go, oh, it's bipartisan, et cetera, even though the other bill gave them more judges, more of everything they wanted, and it gave us the border wall. This guy down here, Hutch, doesn't know what's happening on the border. I live near the border.
You don't know what's in that bill. You don't know what's in the
I do know what's in the bill.
The bipartisan
You clearly don't know what's in the bill. I know
hired more judges.
Listen, I'm going to have
had money for the wall.
I could go point for point on it. You're wrong. You're absolutely incorrect. The bill in 202016 under Trump.
Who was in charge of Congress in 2016?
It doesn't matter. Listen, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Trump's failure.
Let me tell you, you're just wrong. Let me tell you something. There's a reason why Operation Lone Star has been so wildly successful. Let me give you some statistics. Just from the raid on the Eagle Pass Islands, we got rid of 10,000 migrants apprehended, 52 pounds of fentanyl, 38 pounds of ecstasy, 11 pounds of cocaine, 20 firearms, 5 stolen. That's just 3 little islands in the middle of the Rio Grande. You know why this is important? Because the real problem is not the migration. The real problem is the cartels who are taking advantage of the migration, who are causing problems, who are just damaging ranching here in Texas, damaging ranching in other states. They're destroying American property. They're shipping fentanyl in here at a wild cost. And
why did we pass the border bill, which the border patrol supported?
And because of what you're enabling with what the asylum laws and not putting up a wall and deterrence, you're enabling more and more sex trafficking.
They tried to change the asylum laws.
Lefties and liberals, why do y'all want more sex trafficking? Because that's what we're going to get until we have a deterrence up to stop.
Why don't you like the border bill? The border bill.
How long have y'all been pro sex trafficking?
We're gonna have to. Okay, so that was.
Okay,
who was
Jesus
that directed
fucking
towards?
Christ.
I need the lefties. I want to know.
I want to go on record and say I'm anti-sex trafficking.
Well, so then why don't you want a wall?
Why don't you support the border bill? The Border Patrol made it clear that they didn't think this was
Border
the
Patrol
perfect
take any
option.
funding they can get.
But,
Oh, come on.
Gibbs, you just get him being basically a sex pest. Let him
But you know,
respond.
this is Congress. Congress, there needs to be agreements. There needs to be balance. Democrats, Republicans. There was a bipartisan border bill. Wouldn't you have supported the bill that the Border Patrol also supported to be passed? Admiral Gibbs, yes or no?
No, absolutely not. It was not
You don't
enough.
agree with the Border Patrol. You disagree with them that it should have been passed.
Yeah, listen. If you are an agency, a government agency, you're always going to hold on. This is really
You know
dishonest.
more than the Border Patrol?
But yeah, I guess I do. I don't know. This is but that's not what's really happening. Is they're sitting there going, "Hey, we're dying out here. We need more funding." They'll take whatever they can get. What was that? Hold on. Here's what's better. Why didn't y'all support the bipartisan bill in 2016 and threw your foot down on the Dreamers and then not back the Dreamers in 20 and then the most recent one? There absolutely was in 2016. I have the link to the bill if you want it. I'll post it in the chat.
No. So there was gonna be.
Here we go. I got it.
There was the concept
There's the
of
bill.
an idea of a bipartisan bill, but that never got through because Trump is a bad negotiator and he could have gotten a
it got
shit
through.
ton of funding.
Y'all, no. What happened was the Republican base said no. We're not going to do the.
Wait 1 second. I want to hear Pisco's alternative version of events.
Yeah.
Then we'll have Gibbs respond, and then we're gonna go to IRI and Turk, who've been waiting very.
So we remember, those of
Let
us
me
who were
please.
around and paying attention, we remember the meetings that Democrats in good faith went toward, because we knew Republicans who could have gotten the border funding on their own because they controlled both the House and the Senate went to Democrats to try to get a deal. And in good faith, the Democrats were saying, "Hey, give us the Dreamers, give us that." But the Republicans put in some poison pills into the bill, which we can talk about, which we can talk about. But the Republicans could have passed it by themselves if they wanted to do it, but they did not do it because you could not get unity because Trump's a bad negotiator. However, again, in 2024, when there's a bipartisan deal, who's the one who puts it into the ground and kills it? Not Democrats.
People along
Trump.
the border.
Again,
People
Trump.
along the border
Again.
know
it
this
was
is going to solve the
Trump. It was
problem.
Trump.
It's Trump again. So
that's not what happened.
I'll ask again.
He took
I'll ask
credit
again.
for it. He
Let's
says
let
he
Pisco
killed the
finish.
bill.
Let's let
I'll
Pisco
a-
finish the question, and then we're throwing it to Gibbs, and then IRI.
I'll ask again. You have a bill that, yes, conservatives don't think is perfect. Yes, the Border Patrol hates Biden, hates Harris. 100% they do. But this is a bill they wanted if they were going to have anything, because otherwise the alternative was nothing. And you say they shouldn't have got what they wanted. So how come we should trust you on what's best for Border Patrol?
Well, it's entailed in your own. Hang on, it's entailed literally in what you just said, Pisco. You just said Border Patrol hates them. It was this or nothing, right? So of course they're going to take whatever's offered. That doesn't mean that that's what they actually
What's
wanted.
the entailment?
Pisco.
Sorry, what's the entailment?
Hold on.
The entailment is
I'm not understanding the entailment.
if you offer a person gruel, okay, or
That's an
nothing,
entailment?
and they stop.
Wait,
Pisco,
Andrew,
let me
is that
finish.
or is that not an
Yes, I'm
entailment?
going to give you the entailment.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to give you the entailment. So if you offer a person gruel or nothing, and then say, well, they took the gruel, that means they wanted gruel. That's not true. That is not. That is not.
They
the
didn't
case,
call. They didn't
Pisco.
call it gruel. They did not call it gruel.
A better analogy.
They said it wasn't perfect. They said it. They said it.
We're going to have a
Andrew,
response to Andrew, and we got to go back to
understand.
Gibbs because he was the person the question was directed to.
I understand an entailment to be something that necessarily follows. Logically, that's an
Right. It doesn't
inferential-
necessarily follow that
Okay,
they
so it's
wanted
not a-
it because that's all that they could have.
They did
hang on.
want it.
They wanted something different than that. That's just all they could get.
Hang on, but
They didn't
but
call-
what is
they
the
did not
entailment
call
that
it
I'm providing?
gruel.
What I'm saying is that they could have picked nothing, which is what Trump picked, or they could have picked
No, what
something.
people on the border
and
picked.
They picked something. So where's the entailment? I'm not seeing the necessary inference. I'm.
Well,
I got this. I got
you're
this.
saying that the inference. You're saying the inference is
bullshit.
they wanted this, right? No, they wanted something
They
different.
did.
They just would have taken this
No,
because
you
that's
just
all they
fucked up
could
your
Let me
get.
give you a
They
better,
didn't
let me
call
give you a
it
better
gruel.
analogy.
They did
Literally,
not call it
Pisco,
gruel.
that's what's going on.
Hold on. Yeah,
No,
it's not
they
gruel.
said
Let me
that
give
this
you a
bill.
Let's
They
go to
said that
Gibbs.
this bill.
Wait, we're throwing it to Gibbs, and then it's going to be Hutch responding to that.
Yeah, let me give you a better analogy. What really happened is the Border Patrol is going, oh my God, we're dying out here of thirst. And Biden whipped out his weak old man dick and then pissed on him. And they said, oh, thank you, Jesus. I needed the water in my life. And they're, thank God. That's what they were asking for. They needed something, and it was better than nothing. I mean, honestly, if I'm dying in the Sahara, I'd fucking drink some piss too.
Why
If it
don't
was
you
either
support
that or
Bill?
death.
Why don't you support Bill?
And I'll tell you why. Hold on. Oh, let me finish. I know you like to interrupt. Listen, this is not the Pisco show. Here's the deal. It's real simple. Yeah, when we go look at this bill that in 2018 had more of everything y'all asked for. The only thing it didn't have the Dreamers. And why it didn't have the Dreamers is he took it to the Republican base. The Republican base along the border said, fuck that.
Exactly.
They took it back, and it didn't happen.
Exactly.
Hold on. This is how
Free point,
dishonest y'all. Hold on. It's not a free point. This is how dishonest you're being, because the same bill came around again, basically, but with less. And guess what? The same group of people rioted and
making
said,
my point
hold
for
on.
me. Thank
No,
you.
not the Trump people. Trump just knows it was a big enough group of Republicans Republicans that sat here on the border and go, no, we don't want this shit. And guess what? The Dems didn't even put forth anything about the Dreamers, so they killed the bill that was better and had more of what they wanted, and they just used the Dreamers as an excuse. It's total dishonesty because they wanted to ship more people across the nation.
This is what happened,
it's
right?
very clear. It's very no. It is what happened. You killed it over the Dreamers. No. Hold on. You killed it over the Dreamers. Where were the Dreamers on the new bill? Well, let me ask you this: it was bipartisan. Why didn't the Dems include the Dreamers on the new bill?
It's a great point.
It's a great response. But Hutch has been waiting very much, and I want to throw it over to
We
Hutch.
need to be clear about.
We have Turk.
Sorry. We need to be clear about what the Border Patrol said. What they said was the head of the Border Patrol said, while not perfect, the Border Act of 2024 is a step in the right direction and is far better than the current status quo. This is why the National Border Patrol Council endorses this bill and hopes for its quick passage. Donald Trump personally intervened, called conservative senators and threatened them if they were to give Biden a win during an election year. What you're saying is that you know better than the Border Patrol Union, which, again, this is a divided government. You're not going to get some bill that makes Republicans entirely happy and Democrats entirely happy. It did put limitations on our asylum. That would have helped. It did hire more.
First thing they said is better than the status quo.
It's not the Gibbs show. I would like to respond from our side.
Excuse me. Let me just finish. To hire more immigration judges. It did have more funding to hire more Border Patrol agents. And Donald Trump killed the bill. So I just don't think you guys have a leg to stand on to saddle this entirely on Biden's watch when he worked with Republicans in good faith for months. You had the leader of the Senate on the Republican side endorse the bill. You had Langford. It's not fake news. You can look up the quote yourself.
Gibbs, please, you've had your chance, Gibbs. Gibbs, you've had your chance. I'm just going to talk over Gibbs. Every time Gibbs starts talking, I'll get my shit in. I don't give a shit. I'll eventually be able to say what I want. I was rudely interrupted last time when I was setting up a point. Wasn't given a chance to be able to finish that, so I'm going to keep talking until I get my chance. So I would like a chance to talk.
Okay, but I understand you have a chance to talk, but Ira's been waiting, Turk's been waiting, Joe's been waiting. There's a lot of people who are in line, so I got to get to everyone. There's 8 people. It is what it is. A lot of people don't like each other, so they're very energetic. I'm gonna get down the list, so I'm just gonna go down the list straight up to make sure people have a chance to speak who haven't talked much this show. And
We'll see you guys for a while.
I want to throw it to you first, then Turk, then Joe, then we're probably gonna get to Rob eventually.
So yeah, I mean the border is shut down courtesy of Biden's executive order. It's a temporary fix. It'll probably get struck down by the courts eventually, as Pisco said. It's you know, but you can look up yourselves. The border crossing numbers are the same as the end of the Trump administration. Now, that being said, I want to go back to my question about what is Trump's plan to make housing more affordable. The only thing I've heard is drill, baby, drill. Increase the drilling, going to bring down inflation, if I understood correctly. But inflation is already below 3%. The lowest it's going to go is like 2%. So I'd love to hear more about that from you guys, because Kamala's proposed some ideas, which you guys poo-pooed on. But what is Trump offering to bring down my rent?
So yeah, I don't want to run too much defense, and I really love Gibbs. Sometimes God brings its strongest soldiers for the hardest battles, so that's always nice to see. I am kind of concerned, however, that nobody on the right side talked about some of the housing policies that he proposed. I don't agree with them. I almost said the M word there. I'm sorry. I hope that lovely person kicks rocks with these policies, but he did articulate the idea of federal land usement. So basically repurposing some of the federal land that's currently not in use, like military bases, certain things within the Bureau of Land Management to turn that into housing. I don't agree with that. And there's very obvious reasons why. Any liberal who pays attention to the news for 30 seconds can understand why that's a poor policy. Another one is the idea of restricting in some capacity larger corporations from buying homes and using them for things like rental properties. He spoke to that a little bit. And then he also, as I think Gibbs was trying to articulate and others were trying to articulate, some relation with immigration as it relates to construction. Basically, he argues in one way or another that restricting immigration can help reduce housing costs. I don't know how exactly that works out, but that does tie to a deeper point where it would be interesting if there was a second debate just specifically on housing, especially considering that wasn't mentioned in the previous debate at all.
So Joe, just to clarify.
Oh, okay. Quick 15, 20 seconds because we got to get down the list.
Yeah. So it sounds like privatize federal land, kick people out, and restrict corporations from certain business practices. And I wonder if my conservative friends would agree with those things.
Where is Kamala Harris going to get the procurement for her housing? Where is she going to procure the land for that?
Yeah, but that doesn't
mean
answer
land. She would be offering incentives. She would be offering incentives to make it cheaper and
yeah, no, that's is that what her plan is?
Buildings. Yeah,
is that what her plan is?
I think it actually specifically goes for like 1,200 square foot homes, a specific tax credit for these businesses to incentivize them to build more homes.
You spend money and you have public-private partnerships. It's not that difficult in terms of what do you think they did for the infrastructure?
Yeah, so hang on.
What do you think they did? What do you think they did with the infrastructure?
You have public-private partnerships. You have state offices as well that coordinate where to build stuff. It's not something that's like
there's three electric chargers they built for like how many billion was that? Somebody said it earlier. Like how many offices did it take to like spend that many billions of dollars? This is what conservatives are mad about. Oh, you want to talk about economics? This is what's so frustrating to Republicans and normies, really. And it's crazy to come on these panels, and I feel like I'm the only one that talks to anybody outside of their house ever. You talk to these people, and they go, "Man, it's really annoying to see that Democrats spent my dollars on things like I don't know, $2 million to study dying butcher's language in Paris, France. Oh, we spent billions of dollars on 3 electric charging stations under Biden's administration's what was it? Make America bullshit again bill. It's fucking crazy. Like I'm just sitting here seeing this, and y'all are trying to sit here and say this is economic growth because y'all throw money at a problem with no real solution, and then just expect the regular American taxpayers to pick up the slack.
Real quick, Pisco. You keep saying this, but the amount of EV chargers on Biden's watch has doubled. And they're currently building 1,000 new chargers each week. Where are you getting this info?
I don't know where they're getting
anything. But the Biden administration hasn't done anything to address the cost of the EVs and then the worker shortages within that. That's always been one of the problems.
They did a federal rebate for the EVs. What do you mean? There was a $7,500 cash rebate for EVs.
For like an hour. And I watched y'all dance. I just want to tap dance a little bit and then you can respond. The point I'm trying to make here is that there's still gaps within these particular policies, which is something I mentioned to Pisco like an hour and a half ago at this point concerning housing, and maybe him and I will have to have a conversation about this after the stream itself so we can like sort of hash that part out. I engage a little bit with that one.
There are gaps. I agree with you, Joe. There are gaps. This was a bill, just like the border bill, that had to go through the process, the meat grinder of making legislation. It's not going to be perfect, and so I can't go on a line item by line item basis and speak to all the electric chargers or whatever. But I do know
it's 8 chargers, 2.5 years.
Not to cut you off. Like you spoke towards the 3 million houses, right? There's still a problem about land usage and land utilization that's going to be a direct challenge that she has to address. I think if she is going to do something like parade the 3 million houses policy, she should also articulate to people, how am I going to deal with those upfront obstructions if I want to do public-private partnership, like restrictive zoning laws, like just zoning generally, like you know what I'm saying? There's other things with that, but
that will absolutely have to be worked out. I'm not saying it's going to be that okay, maybe I didn't mean to imply that it was trivial. These are things that are going to take time and money and resources to think about and smart people to craft legislation. But yes, I understand that. But Kamala's not going to say that on a debate stage and say, there's zoning issues. It's an idea. It's a concrete idea. And the same thing doesn't apply to Trump. Trump's like, we're going to deport 20 million people. Where are the logistics for that? Where are the concerns about government expenditures for that and paying for everyone's court fees and increasing exponentially the number of immigration judges to process deportation orders? Okay, so I understand that there's going to be logistics down the road. Those are going to have to be dealt with, but I think that it's not this unthinkable hurdle for home purchases.
Okay,
but do you think
have to be
that,
the final question, Joe, because we have 2 people on the line, and Rob, okay?
Because look, real talk, one part of me just thinks this way, where it's like, I don't really get, when Republicans were talking about build a wall, they weren't necessarily arguing the semantics of what's the wall going to be made of? They just said, no, motherfucker, you build that wall and we'll figure it out later. However, something that Kamala Harris in this case, and even Donald Trump's case, if we're talking about the border wall, needs to articulate is that what does that look like to do those things, which is why, again, I'm arguing that there needs to be more debates. I think it's the onus of those who are in support of Biden Harris, the onus of those in support of Trump Vance, to be like, yo, no, you need to debate more, but those debates have to be concentrated. That allows focus for Kamala Harris to pin him on particular policy points. That allows Donald Trump to stay focused, something that he struggles with in debates already, and any Republican who says otherwise is being dishonest. So that could be something of a good if those debates moving forward are directly concentrated on those policy gaps that both these parties are representing.
But why is there this pressure on Kamala to come forward with more details and not Trump? I haven't heard. You're the first person.
Just a crap show about it.
To Turk is that question is going.
Thank you for allowing me to answer that question. So IRI, I 100% agree. I wish we could have focused in the debate this week on actually drilling into the policies that we're going to be going for in 2025 next year, right? And this reinforces what Joe's asking. It's like, I really wish there was more substance to this debate. And unfortunately, Kamala was not really pressed on some of the details on her positions that she said. I understand y'all were able to debunk Andrew's point of list one policy. It's like, yes, there was 3, but it's like, we want more, right? Then when Trump was asked about policy questions, I give y'all the Medicare one, but like y'all didn't like that answer, so that's on you, not on necessarily
What about tariffs?
Trump.
You agree with this tariff policy? 10% on everything coming into the country, maybe 20%?
I think it worked a little bit. There probably is some refinement that could happen, and it's probably a good thing to try.
That's going to increase prices in the short to medium term.
But we would love to dive into these specifics a bit more in the debate, rather than continuing to act on previous policies that he did do. Let's talk about the future, right? We're trying to go forward. That's why I think we needed to focus more on the actual policies, and just Kamala never got that opportunity. And that's why I think in the debate, she did good on the delivery, but she didn't do good on the policy. And that's why, going back to the original query for the debate here tonight, I don't think she did really well.
And to be clear, I am not pushing back on the idea that Donald Trump should not debate, and the onus isn't on him either, right? The onus is on both of them, though, because Donald Trump has to stop like being afraid of women or whatever the fuck he's going on about. Apparently, he has some fear against women. It's happened like 2 debates now, which is not. I mean, it is what it is, but it's still like it's the onus on both of them to articulate.
Yeah, Trump definitely has character flaws, and he could have done a lot better to address the specific questions. He shouldn't have caught the bait. We agree. A lot of us actually agree at the beginning in our opening statements. But again, I want to drive this fact. It's like, we need to know more about the policy and how it's actually impacted. Talking to these 3 million houses, where are these houses really needed? They're needed in urban areas, right? They're needed in suburbs, right? Where are we going to put them? Going back to Joe Lewis's point, are we going to start doing eminent domain? Are we going to go and buy bulk land out by the airports? These are things we need to know and we need to talk about, and we need to at least have a discussion about it.
Zoning isn't the major issue. Like, you understand, we have a housing shortage because construction companies
it's an example to the argument.
The pandemic, because of the rising interest rates, like, they are ready to build if we can incentivize them. It's not a matter of land or where they're going to do it. They'll work that out.
Who's they?
Yeah.
Who's they?
Yeah, who's they? That's a good
Who
question.
are they? Who are these people ready to build?
Hey, bro, they nacho fries, you know.
Hang on, no. The entire universe of public and private stakeholders so there's an entire legion.
The entire
of people
universe.
This nebulous group of universe.
Answer the question.
Lizard overlords, bro. It's our lizard overlords.
Private landowners, state regulators, state governors, the federal regulators, the administration itself. A lot of people need to coordinate to make this happen. We're not saying that doesn't need to happen, but they will find a way if their incentives are there. IRI is absolutely correct. You guys are being delusional if you think that the government.
Where's the proof? Where is the proof?
Our government absolutely has the capacity to invest in housing.
We got to throw it over to Rob, because Rob's been waiting.
Okay, thanks. Now, I think if we're trying to take this to the debate a little, Gibbs illustrated exactly what the point of Donald Trump is that he took the bait, right? So I set this argument up with Hutch. I asked Hutch, I said, if an executive order would be able to solve immigration, why didn't Biden do it 3 years ago? Why instead did he say that the border was secure? Please, Gibbs, you've already made yourself full enough. Why didn't he allow or say that it was a problem the whole time? Why did he gaslight America and Kamala Harris gaslight Mayorkas gaslight and say it wasn't a problem? And Hutch immediately goes, well, the better solution would be it's about asylum policy and blah, blah, blah. And he does this song and dance, which Gibbs then takes the bait. The point that I'm trying to make is...
Hold on, how am I taking the bait here whenever I'm quoting real issues
because
and policy?
Because I set up what the ultimate argument would be, and I was unable to finish it for 25 minutes because you took it in a different direction, taking the bait.
Sure,
the
so
question
that's
then
not bait.
becomes... It is
real
bait
issues
because
table.
intelligently what Pisco did is very similar to what Kamala Harris did, is say, but the real problem is there was a bipartisan bill that Biden wanted that Trump didn't do. Then we spent 30 minutes talking about that bipartisan bill. When what we really saw, what Hutch illustrated was, if an executive order would have been able to solve this, but Biden refused to do it, it proves that they were happy with the direction the border was going, which the American people are against. And they're only now trying to talk about it because it's an election issue, which gets to the problem of this debate and with Kamala Harris, which is she has not had any adversarial press. She has been hidden. She only gave an 18-minute pre-recorded interview with Dana Bash. She didn't have policies up on her website. Turk is correct that it's just facsimile-like statements that she's now using, many of them of which been copied from the Trump administration. And it gets to the point, like I said, that Bernie Sanders said, she's just saying what she thinks the American people want to hear. That's it. And Hutch is okay with that. Hutch proves it. Because Hutch is now saying, please, let me, please.
She's pivoting to the center to win an election.
Please, let me. I tried to be generous this whole debate and not interrupt people.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so Hutch proves that point. He's saying, well, the Biden administration could have solved this day one if they wanted with an executive order. They could have. That's how they did it now. That's how they solved it now. And my point is, but they gaslit us for 3 years and said, there's no problem at the border. 2021, no border problem. 2022, no border problem. 2023, no border problem. 2024, there's a border problem. It's Trump's fault. Oh, but now we can solve it with an executive order. Oh, and by the way, when we tell you all the shit that we could have done while we were in office, like reduce inflation and build houses, and we're going to do, child tax credits, all this shit that we could have done. Now we promise we'll do them just until the election's over. And then if they win, they'll rescind on all of these promises. So what I'm telling you is it is clear that if you're listening, don't take the bait. This debate is about one thing. The record of Donald Trump. He's had 4 years of policies that he's instituted. He's had adversarial relationships with the press, and he's had counts or city halls and etc. where he's talked over. In fact, he talks too much. He's constantly going on places where he's talking about his policies and other things. Kamala Harris hid, and in this debate, she said nothing, and she has a history of flip-flopping on every major policy position, and she did not give any details on how that would change, and we could see that her administration lied to you, not just about Biden's cognitive decline, but lied to you about the border, could have solved it at any point with an executive order, and chose not to until they knew it was an issue for the election. Now they're pretending to give a shit. As soon as they're elected, it'll go right back to the same open border policies.
I do agree with Rob on one thing. I think that we should go after people's records. And I think the record that most matters is this former president's attempt to steal the 2020 election, which is the area you guys don't want to get into. You think that we don't want to talk about economics.
And we shouldn't focus on Kamala's previous policies.
You guys think that we don't want to talk about economics. We just spent the vast majority of the debate talking about economics.
Well, it's because you don't understand economics.
You want to know.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah, okay. You guys like not know.
Let's focus on the other previous policies and not the other previous policies. Gotcha.
What people care about in this country is the fact that the former president tried to steal the 2020 election and doesn't give a shit about our Constitution.
He didn't try to steal that. This is another lie.
Please, Gibbs, stop interrupting, Gibbs. You've talked enough, dude. You're their best debater.
Wait. Well, first, how about, let's do it this way because I don't like the, first, Pisco, you'll have a minute to explain how he tried to steal election. And Gibbs, you'll get a minute to respond how he didn't and now why it's a lie. Okay? And Hutch, I'll write your name down. I gotta use the bathroom. Please no one say slur.
Sure, yeah. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. You don't agree with that, Gibbs. You don't agree that Donald Trump fairly lost the 2020 election. But I'll say it again.
Did I say that? I didn't say that.
Someone gave a I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. Oh, maybe that was
you're making accusations.
You know what? I'll give you that. I confused Andrew before too. So my apologies for that. So he absolutely lost the 2020 election. Recounts confirm it. Court cases confirm it. Investigations by governments confirm it, both state and federal. And even though he lost the election, he tried to remain in office. He tried to do so through several means, including but not limited to using fake electors, trying to convince state legislatures to rescind their electoral votes, and trying to have his crowd pressure and then ultimately insurrect against the government for the purpose of stealing the 2020 election. And that is absolutely disqualifying. He has promised to pardon the criminals who attacked police officers in the Capitol on January 6th, and he is nowhere close to competent or fit for that reason by itself. Even if I were to grant you, which I don't, any of the economic policy that you just spoke about, the fact that this man tried to upend our constitutional structure is by itself disqualifying. And I'm sure you're going to tell us, Gibbs, now about why he didn't do that and how I'm assuming you're going to say he didn't lose.
Notice how he directs it directly to Gibbs because he knows he'll take the bait again. Go ahead, Gibbs.
Yeah, I will take the bait. Hold on.
Damn, Gibbs, he's talking shit about you.
I know. Rob and I.
Go Gibbs. Go Gibbs.
Let me just quickly say, I'm in on it. Yes. No, Gibbs said the thing, and so I said, wait. Let's let Pisco say it. Let's let Gibbs say it, and I want to have them respond. Rob, you can talk about it after if you think Gibbs doesn't make a good point. You can make a good point after. Gibbs.
Yeah, Rob. See, listen. I think you're talking at cross purposes, Rob. One, I don't think he said that. First, he said his speech peaceful, patriotically. It's been pretty well established. We're just going lies. You know what? If I was Trump, I'd probably think things were rigged against me too. I haven't seen any evidence that it's overwhelmingly rigged against him or with whatever. But some of the lawfare could make me see that as if I was Trump. Now, that being said, I don't give a shit about none of that. You know what I care about? Let me tell you what I care about. The treasonous behavior by the Biden administration and the Harris administration along the border. That's problem. I have sat here and heard all this bullshit. Texas, when they joined the United States as a country, it was on the condition, A, we're going to sell part of our land, get our debts done. B, the Rio Grande, which Texas already fought a second war after the war for independence. Hold on. No. If you let me finish. Texas already fought a second war with Mexico on their own without the U.S.'s help to establish the Rio Grande as our border. That was established. Then, after we established the border of the Rio Grande as a border, we fought Mexico. I don't know if you might have heard of it. Big thing called the Mexican-American War. Yeah, the Mexican-American War. Zachary Taylor got elected president afterwards because he was such a hero during it. Yeah, big thing happened. Maybe, and guess what that was fought over? Mainly because the Rio Grande was the defining point. And now, what we've said here and seen is the Biden administration open it up and then try to stop Texas from defending its sovereign border, which it was agreed upon. The whole reason we were joining the U.S. was for protection along that border. I haven't said anything about seceding.
Do you not want to secede? Yes or no, Gibbs? Do you want them?
No. I mean, right now, no. Maybe later. Who knows? I don't know.
They don't actually believe in America.
Listen.
I'll give you another 20 seconds because he didn't really address
reason.
Yeah, because his question is bullshit, right? And this is what I'm saying. If we're comparing what's more treasonous, I would say everything on the board is much more treasonous than the speech that Trump gave, and where he said peacefully and patriotically, and then other people took it to heart and went crazy.
You just said you want to leave the union, Gibbs.
I didn't say that. Did I say that? Well, this is bullshit.
Hold on.
I guess of this bullshit. Let me tell you something. Pisco here, he's a lawyer, right? He knows about contract law. If one party doesn't uphold their obligations, guess what? The other party has reason to want out of the contract. Yeah, and so whenever they don't enforce the border, that's just as treasonous as anything you can accuse the Trump.
It's a warning. What Gibbs is doing is warning, saying if you don't agree with Texas on border policy, we might leave because this is a contract. And
because we signed with the U.S. to join. Yes or no?
You're defending secessionist thought, and
no, I'm defending our border, which you are not. You are sitting here opening it up for everybody.
I just want to say you are literally giving the. I'm not even exaggerating. The exact.
Why do you hate farmers and ranchers on the border?
You are literally giving the exact same argument that the Confederates gave for why they were allowed to leave the Union.
No, I'm not.
Contract. Wait, no. Yes, you are. That this was
sanctuary cities are also giving the same argument for the nullification crisis under South Carolina did.
Are we talking about the debate?
Yeah, sure. Sure, it's a dead end, but I just want to finish this. That Gibbs is giving the Confederacy argument, which was.
I'm not. No, you're lying. You're lying.
I'm about to explain why.
You're absolutely lying.
I'm about to explain why it's the exact same.
You're explaining it correctly.
The legal argument of the Confederates was we entered into this union on conditions, and once the union rescinded the...
None of them were sovereign countries, were they?
Please stop. Look, I said 20, 30 seconds. Pisco, 15 seconds. I have a timer.
Yeah. once they breached that contract, that is the Union, by electing Lincoln, who was going to stop the expansion of slavery, that they had the right to secede. That was the exact secessionist argument that you just heard from Gibbs.
No, fake news. How many of those states were also their own separate countries before joining the Union? There's a reason Texas is the only state that can fly its flag equal to the United States flag, because we were the Republic of Texas. We won our independence independent of the United States without their help. So guess what? We came in on equal footing. Part of the equal footing bargaining and part of the contract is you're both of sound mind. You agree to something. The United States is not pulling their end of the bargain here with regards to the border. You would know that if you went to law school and were actually a lawyer.
Damn,
Rob, you wanted to respond to something?
Yes. Notice how I said in my opening that what you'll see is the constant deflection from the records of the Harris-Biden administration and the Trump administration, and how things like the economy and border were much better under him. We got Hutch to admit that actually all it would have taken was an executive order from the Harris-Biden administration to solve everything. They instead lied for 3 years and said that the border was secure and it was fine. There is no answer from anyone on the left by that. But Pisco is smart, like Kamala Harris was smart, in throwing out bait. And just like Trump took the bait, Gibbs takes the bait. So he does exactly what I said he would do in the opening statement.
Damn, which is talking shit about you, Gibbs.
He does exactly. I mean, he can do that, but he does. I'm not going to take it. It's just because I have a different argument style than him. I'm not going to sit here and argue about it in the weeds whenever I have real issues I give a shit about. And now the only thing he's dog walking is his honking reputation, because he's sitting here and he's wrong. I'm spitting facts. He's over here sad. I don't know. I'm sorry, Rob, you're wrong.
No, I appreciate the interruptions from everyone. I'll finish my point. Go ahead, keep interrupting. It's fine. I'll wait. I'll keep interrupting. It's fine. It's okay. Everybody good? Okay. So again, all that this did was Pisco. He knew that they had to take the bait because they don't have an answer for the fact that the American people correctly blame the Biden-Harris administration because they could have solved this with an executive order. Right, Hutch? Hutch was the one the question was directed to, so I'll get Hutch's answer. I don't need your answer, Pisco. We'll see what Hutch says. He's the one that said that the executive order solved all of this. So they intentionally allowed this to occur, and what they're doing on the left is just what Harris did, was it refused to talk about these things and instead pivot to my democracy, my race. I've talked to Pisco, as he knows, probably 20 plus hours on January 6th. It's been litigated ad nauseum. It's all as people were struggling to buy eggs and milk and afford houses. Pisco and Hutch and IRI and their ilk were celebrating the January 6th committee, celebrating throwing nonviolent prisoners in jail, celebrating the terrible treatment of them. That's the things that they want to talk about. So to the undecided voter out there, I implore you, were your wages going up under Trump? Could you afford homes? Could you afford eggs? Could you afford groceries? Was the border more secure? Were we on the verge of World War III? The answer is all of those things were better, and Pisco and company don't give a shit. They're fine with that because they just want to use lawfare to go after their opponents and scream racism and my democracy, just like they did in 2016, saying Trump would be a racist and a threat to democracy. Same tired argument.
We also had the largest protests in our nation's history when Donald Trump was president. The largest amount of civil unrest. Do we really want to go back to that? Because I feel like
it was all whipped
your
up
people,
by communists.
Your people.
We also lost
your
1.1 million people to a pandemic. I bet you if Hillary Clinton was president, wouldn't have lost anywhere near as many of those people.
Wait, what metric was the largest?
Hang on.
What metric?
Hang on. Gibbs, my turn, Gibbs. Hang on. Let me question IRI on some of this.
Hutch, then Andrew. Hutch just raised his hand a bit ago. Then Andrew.
This is
I kind of want to take a different tack, so let them finish this up, and I want to ask a different question.
Andrew.
No, answer Rob's question, Hutch. Don't answer his question. No, you didn't answer shit. Answer his question.
It cuts both ways. If Donald Trump was able to do border wall by appropriating defense funds, why didn't he do it the first year if it was such an emergency?
It's what about is
why didn't he do it the first year, Rob?
It's what about is
because he was trying to get it done through Congress, right?
Excuse me. I'll answer the question.
There you go.
It's what aboutism, one. So you refused to answer the question. Said what about Trump? Yes, it is.
No,
you're the one
that's
saying. You're the one that said
he tried to get it. He wanted a bill from Congress, and Trump killed the bill, and he did an executive order afterwards.
That's not true. What, in 2021 did Trump kill the bill? In 2022, did Trump kill the bill? In 2023, did Trump kill the bill?
Why didn't Trump build the wall in 2017?
Because he was stymied by Democrats.
He could have done it himself.
You asked a question.
3 years.
You asked a question.
That's what I said.
You asked a question, and I'll answer. If you don't mind.
So the question, right?
You asked a question, and I will answer if you like, or you can just.
Right now.
I'm not in trouble. IRI, please. Someone who claimed that they wanted to stay in their bubble, not debate me. You should keep your own advice. The reason is because you're the person that said that a simple executive order was able to secure the border. The fact is, the border was much more secure, largely because of the executive orders of Donald Trump when he was there. I never said Trump could build a wall by executive order. You're the person who said that an executive order, quote, secured the border right now. You can't answer for the fact that if that's all it took, why did Biden...
You don't listen.
Again, you did not answer, and I'll repeat it. Why did Biden lie for 3 years and say the border was secure when all he had to do was pass an executive order? Why did he allow millions upon millions of illegals in?
Pisco, he's not asking you. He's not asking you,
Pisco.
Pisco.
So I want to have Hutch respond, then we're going to go to Pisco.
I've answered this question. I'm happy to.
Andrew,
No,
is your
my
thing
turn.
still thing?
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna
her
be Hutch,
thing.
Andrew, then Pisco.
I've answered the question. I'm happy to answer it again. A more meaningful way to address the border issue is through Congress. He tried to get that done. When Trump killed that bill, he used an executive order.
That's a lie. What Congress bill was he pushing in 2021?
It's on his website. He has a
No, shut up,
immigration-
Pisco.
Which
Shut
bill
up.
was he pushing in 2021 or in 2022 or in 2023? What
He
were the
did
bills that
push an
Biden...
immigration bill, as far as I understand, in 2021.
what were the bills-
I'm not familiar with the specifics.
You've only
but,
cited
yeah.
one bill that you said was bipartisan. So if he did something that was totally different, that wasn't this bipartisan bill that didn't have support of Republicans, it wasn't just that he could have solved it with a bill. He was literally gaslighting the country. So was Kamala Harris, that there wasn't a border crisis. So was Mayorkas.
I don't think there was ever a point where they were saying that it wasn't a crisis.
Yes.
Mayorkas was
You could rewrite
testifying in front of Congress saying that our system is stretched beyond its capacity. Our current infrastructure along our border was never meant to deal with this level of influx. I tried to explain it to you guys before. The issue is our asylum laws. It's not people like crossing the border illegally. It's our asylum infrastructure being overwhelmed by tens of
It's not,
thousands
though.
of people coming from Central, South America, and Mexico. He tried to pass a bill meaningfully addressing that, and Trump killed it. And so he did
no
an ex-
answer.
Didn't Kamala
executive
go
order.
down there to address the root causes of the issue and just fail
And guess
miserably?
what? And guess what?
Just like when she went to go
I'm glad you
negotiate
mentioned that.
with Putin
You're
and
talking about
Zelensky,
the
and 3 days
Northern
later
Triangle.
they rolled in the
You're
tanks.
talking about the-
She clearly
You're
she's
talking
really
about the
bad at
Northern
negotiations
Triangle.
with foreign policy.
Listen, you're talking about the Northern Triangle. She was in charge of a diplomatic mission to help address the root causes
it
of
failed
migration
miserably,
from those
correct?
countries. No, guess what happened when she started doing that? Migration went down from
failed.
those countries every year. We announced a
Oh, my
massive
God.
aid package to Guatemala that Trump canceled on his watch. If you really want to address migration,
How did
from
he
these countries,
cancel it on his watch
Help-
if she was the czar under Biden? How does that make sense?
on his
Did he like
watch.
somehow
On-
like take over for Biden and cancel the
not
ball?
listening.
Like
When he was
okay.
president, he canceled foreign aid package that we were giving to Guatemala at the time. And guess what the fuck happened? Migration increased from that country.
Why are they getting our money anyway?
What do you want to? It's a way to address the issue. If you want to reduce migration, you can help them have better domestic situations. So there's
Or we
less
can just build a
corruption,
wall
less
that
crime,
works.
more economic. Okay. I'm glad you brought up the wall. He claims that he built hundreds of new miles of wall. Then why did we have this massive influx? Did it help?
Because the Bidens have been tearing it down.
If
No,
I
no,
may,
did it
if
help?
I may, if I may, to address specifically the lie, or maybe just the misunderstanding that Hutch just said. He said that no
we
one
need to
was
move
saying
on, though,
the Biden administration wasn't saying the border wasn't secure. In 2019, the border was called a manufactured crisis by Pelosi. In 2021, Mayorkas said the border is secure; it is not open. In 2021, Biden said there wasn't a crisis at the border; they're handling it. In April of 2021, Psaki said the term crisis referring to the situation at the border is incorrect. It's more of a challenge. And September 2022.
What were
But let me
what were
finish. Let me
apprehensions at
finish
that
one
time?
more. In September 2022,
The
Harris in an
situation was
interview.
out of
I
control
understand. I
until
understand the need.
2022, I believe,
Again,
right?
I've been generous in not interrupting you. I think you've agreed to that. So when I'm reading statements that are fact, show that you're factually incorrect. Please listen, and then you could respond. In September of 2022, Vice President Kamala Harris with Chuck Todd said the border is secure, but we do have to manage a broken immigration system. So they constantly downplayed what was going on at the border, saying the border was secure. You said that none of them said the border was secure, or that there was a crisis at the border.
That was during Title 42. That was during.
I
the
didn't-
So you want quotes from 2023?
Hang on a second. So just to be clear, everything you just said was during a time in which there were millions of not expulsions, but you just administratively pushing them out under Title 42. You acknowledge that at least, right?
But even still, there were things like that occurring at the time, but the numbers that were coming in at that time were still record numbers. So at the time these statements are being
Trump
given,
had record numbers.
No, not even close. Not even close to the numbers
Yes, he did. In 2019, it was the highest level since Obama.
Get it above Obama, yeah.
Okay, so then you're saying that the
emergency powers during
you're
COVID.
saying, I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear before I look up the data. Then I'll be quiet and I'll look it up and present it to you. But what you all are saying is that the 2019 numbers of illegal immigrants or undocumented encounters were very similar to 2022. That it wasn't massively worse in 2022.
No.
That's what I thought. That's the claim I'm making. So you saying that it was higher in 20?
Wait. The question. There was a question asked. I do want to make sure that I could hear the
rest
of the answer.
So none of us are. You said that there were record numbers. The number of immigration in the late period has been increasing. They increased massively under Donald Trump. It is if you look at the slope, even if you guys are, sometimes it's good to keep an eye on what the Groypers are doing, what Nick Fuentes is doing. He excoriates Donald Trump for this because the record and the number absolutely did spike under Donald Trump at various points in the administration. They went down in 2020 when they started doing the Title 42 administrative switches out because of COVID. Absolutely, that is true. But Biden continued that policy until a certain time, and then the crisis emerged, and it was really, really, really bad. And so I agree.
But it wasn't a crisis till Abbott sent people to New York.
You can even say that some messaging around this has been really, really bad. What you cannot say, though, is that Biden did not present a bill in 2021, a comprehensive immigration plan. He did on day one. He had a hundreds of page long bill that addressed border security, addressed the broken immigration system. So that absolutely is true. And then the question about why didn't he do this executive action sooner? I think what Biden is doing is illegal. I disagree with him doing that. I think that it's unconstitutional.
It solved the problem according. So you think it solved the problem according to Hutch? And what I'm saying is what you've talked about here, what you've talked about of things spiking under Donald Trump is a red herring because it is unresponsive to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there was clearly a crisis as the numbers show that we were hitting record highs in 2022. And the message we were getting from the Biden administration, including Kamala Harris, was there is not a crisis at the border. The thrust of their message since 2021, 2022, and 2023 is the border problems being massively blown out of proportion by Republicans. It's not a crisis. Please. Yeah, Trump said so. Trump said there was a crisis going back in 2016, and the numbers have exploded since then. Trump was doing everything he could. Trump had a two-pronged approach. One, he was trying to get bills passed that were the government was being shut down in one of the longest government shutdowns in history because Democrats said, walls, please. It was Democrats that shut it down. They were controlling Congress.
Yeah, I said that.
Most people said that.
I said that debate. I said that was my debate.
He tried to demand a border wall, and then he folded. So that's his.
What I'm saying, they shut down the government. They shut down the government, saying that walls were racist. They shut down the government, saying that walls are racist, and now it's part of Kamala Harris's plan to build a racist wall. So it wasn't just. You didn't
answer my question about the wall.
I did answer.
I mean, he claims that he built hundreds of miles of new wall. He didn't. It was 52 miles. Let's just take him at his word. He certainly renovated a lot of walls.
It's a clever.
He said that this would like fix the issue, and then we saw record spikes. So
it's a clever. Can I talk for 30 seconds here, Andrew? It's a clever deflection again, trying to take the bait. No, we're not trying to take the bait again. Notice how Hutch is once more deflecting from the fact that we saw crisis numbers in 2021, 2022, 2023, and the Biden administration was constantly saying it wasn't a crisis. They're only pretending to give a shit now because it's an election year. And so what this is about, again, I don't interrupt you, Hutch. I generously let you talk when you're talking. I don't interrupt you. So if you could do me the same courtesy, I would appreciate that. They're bringing this up during an election year because they're pretending to give a shit about it, and just like they pretended to give a shit for 3 years. And if they win, they'll stop giving a shit, and all of a sudden we'll see them flying in illegal immigrants like they're doing with Haitian migrants. This is purely about the record of Donald Trump versus the record of the Harris-Biden administration. When it comes to the border and the economy, Trump crushes them in all instances.
Andrew?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, IRI said that the nation under Trump suffered from some of the most widespread protests which were out there. However, IRI, are you willing to acknowledge that Democrats allowed their own cities to get burned down, created Jazz Chop? On top of that, that BLM was headed by Patrisse Cullors, who was a avowed communist Marxist at the head of this, and that this had all of the markings of what is called a color revolution. Are you willing to disavow the Marxist leadership of Black Lives Matter, who was at the forefront of those riots and Democrats worked right alongside with them? Are you willing to do that?
Well, I'm not familiar with any cities that got burnt to the ground. I think a building or a couple buildings got burnt.
$20 billion
damage.
$20 billion.
Hang on. Gibbs. Let him answer to the communist charge. Are you willing to disavow the communists who are in charge of Black Lives Matter?
not a communist.
I will.
I'm not a common liberal.
I will. I don't like communists.
Weirdos.
Yeah.
They're screwballs. I don't care for those people. But it all happened while Trump was president. Can we admit that?
Yeah, that Democrats worked with communists in order to try to hurt the Trump administration.
Why didn't he invoke the Insurrection Act then, Andrew? Do you condemn him for not invoking the Insurrection Act, yes or no?
No, he allowed states to individually deal with these problems.
Was that a mistake? Was that a mistake?
No, I don't think that it was a mistake.
But you just said they
were destroying cities.
Let IRI talk. And then
you just said they were destroying cities.
Stop talking, dude. If you cut me off every 5 seconds, I can't even make my point. So anyway, back to this. IRI, you will admit, won't you, that the head of Black Lives Matter, the leadership of Black Lives Matter, were avowed Marxist, correct?
Who knows that?
Because
listen,
we know who they are. Patrice Cullors.
I don't know who they are.
I don't know that Patrice Cullors.
I mean, a lot of them are
I don't know that name. I don't know.
Is your name IRI, Pisco?
The question was IRI.
No.
I want to hear IRI's response.
Let me just say, there is no centralized leadership of BLM that was sending out marching orders across the nation. BLM had its own little thing in each little city. Now, I understand there were some people at the top of some sort of national organization that were some shitheads. I don't disagree with you on that. I don't care.
And that Democrats specifically, were allowing this type of violence to happen in their streets all over the United States. And they would do it on purpose. They would give stand-down orders to their own police departments to the point, hang on, IRI, to the point where it was the first influx of gun ownership that we saw where it started to actually move the goalposts for Democrats. Democrats started going and buying guns en masse in order to defend themselves from these very lunatics. Later, one acquitted, one Kyle Rittenhouse of self-defense, who I remember on your show, you tried to verbally crucify.
Irrelevant to the point. Why did Trump praise Tim Walz?
Let IRI speak, Pisco. It's between me and him. You've talked plenty.
I don't want to get into a big BLM thing. My whole point is that it happened while Donald Trump was president. Do you admit that? That's the point. What do you mean Democrats allowed it to happen?
What?
Democrats
These are localized issues. By your own admission, you claim these are all localized issues. Pisco, why do you keep talking when we're in the middle of having this argument? So if you claim that these are all localized issues, right? Oh, BLM didn't have any grand leadership who was coordinating any of this. So it's all localized, and it's up to these local governors, local politicians to deal with these, kind of riots which are going on in their streets. And how did they deal with them, IRI? Didn't they just kind of let them do whatever the fuck they want? Damage property, millions upon millions of dollars in property. Basically, nobody got arrested for any of this, and you tried to verbally crucify Rittenhouse, who was stop talking, man. Let me make my point.
No, there were 10,000 people arrested that summer.
Why do you keep lying? I literally let you get in.
Well, you're lying.
Didn't interrupt you once. Didn't interrupt you once. IRI, can you tell me if Kyle Rittenhouse deserved to be acquitted? Didn't he deserve to be acquitted? Didn't he?
I did not see the evidence. I wasn't on the jury, so I didn't get to see all the evidence. So that's not a call for me to make. I respect the jury's decision.
Okay, that's it. But you won't disavow the Marxist leadership either?
I thought he just
did.
I don't know who the fact
he literally did.
You don't know who's in charge of BLM?
Circle jerk against communism, Andrew, is okay. Liberals
I am a liberal.
Will shake hands, circle jerk against communism.
No.
Don't worry about it.
I just want to make it clear.
I think it's convenient. He suddenly doesn't know. You suddenly don't know who the head of BLM is.
He just acknowledged that.
Why would I know who the head of BLM is?
Yeah, how do you not know? How do you not know who Patrice Cullors is? How do you not know?
They're not household names.
Why would I know who that is?
Because you followed, because I watched your program and you followed these BLM riots. That's why I would think you would know.
I went to BLM protests.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And yet, for some reason it escapes you that Patrice Cullors was a fucking communist and that these governors, these localized governors, when you say, oh, this is Trump's fault, Trump didn't have anything to do with the BLM riots. The local Democrats were allowing these to happen with agitators like you.
Andrew.
You were an agitator who went and assisted.
Because
you went and assisted in the agitation of these local protests. You didn't give a fuck about property damage.
I got shot. I got shot with this little foam bullet, man.
Yeah, because you
I was
were an
just out there recording
agitator.
stuff.
You were an agitator. That's why.
It's like Trump was an agitator on January 6th, right, Andrew? He
What
was an
did I
agitator?
do?
We're talking. Okay, that's a whataboutism. Can we?
Yeah, no, but I just want to be.
Topic?
I just want to make sure. I'll answer directly.
We
Well,
can't
make
say
me
we
sound
can't.
cooler
Okay,
than I am.
no,
Well,
Pisco,
answer-
Pisco. No one's talking to you,
Well,
Pisco.
answer
No one's
directly
talking to you,
on BLM.
Pisco.
Oh, I know
We're
you're
talking to
scared of me.
IRI,
I
Pisco.
know you're scared of me.
Talking to IRI, Pisco.
Everybody.
Pisco, if you
I wanna
want
get
it, I've
touch.
offered to do
I'm gonna
multiple
touch.
debates
Sorry,
with you,
I'm gonna
Pisco.
You're
Happy
like,
to
you
do
have to pay
it.
me. Andrew's like,
Wait,
you have to pay me in order for me to debate you. You have to pay me.
Yeah, pay me. I have a huge platform. You're a loser.
Okay, they're both muted. Both Pisco and Andrew are muted, bringing everyone peace and joy. Because you know,
Can I say one quick?
Wait, why do I get muted in the middle of my argument because Pisco
Because
interrupted
I was telling
it?
you both. I was telling you both. We gotta give.
Yeah, you
IRI
just
time to
mute
respond to your
Pisco.
question.
Me and IRI
I
were
muted
the
you
ones
both.
having the
I muted you
argument.
both because I was trying to give IRI.
Because you're biased as fuck. Go ahead, IRI. Let us have the
just wanna
debate.
say-
Don't be such a baby about it. How about that?
Oh, dude,
okay?
stop bitching, dude. You know you muted
What do
me
you
out
mean
of
you're
turn.
bitching? Oh, I'm being prosecuted. Oh,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God, it's a debate.
Yeah, no, I have long hair.
No
I have Down
conservatives
syndrome.
but
My
you,
name is
bitch. You're the
Dylan Burns.
only conservative
You
that comes
have
on a
Down
bitch.
syndrome,
okay?
Burn.
You're
Shut
the
up,
only
dude.
one.
Down syndrome.
You,
Down
you are a
syndrome,
child.
Down syndrome.
You are a literal child.
Whoa.
You are an
Fantastic.
actual child. Yes.
What?
Yes.
IRI.
Yes, that's what a
IRI.
child says.
Speak for
That's
yourself,
a
baby.
child
You okay with
comeback.
You
That's a literal
IRI
5-year-old
speak for
comeback.
yourself.
You okay
Let's
with that,
get
Rob?
to the debate.
Yes.
Let's get back to the debate. IRI, were you an agitator?
I was not an agitator. I was there filming content and supporting my local community. But I just want to say, Andrew, I'm a liberal. I think communists and leftists are cringe, man. And they hate me and they wish death upon me. So they look at me as the same as you. So we are holding hands on that. Trust me.
Well, I think we need to have another conversation about this IRI. We had one before and it was pretty good, but no, I watched some of your content. It looked like you were participating in the agitation along with BLM, doing everything that you could to push
How?
your
What
kind
did
of.
I do?
When
You
you were
had that
there, you were
shiesty
doing
on,
everything
fam. I
that you
saw you.
could to profile this as some type of inequality,
You
and that
don't
Trump
know
is
shit. You don't know
responsible
what
for
he
this.
did,
Yes,
you
I
fucking
watched
bullshitter.
many.
You're a bullshitter. You don't know shit.
Ask IRI if I was in his
Pisco,
chat.
let
multiple times.
IRI
Ask him.
handle it, Pisco.
Ask IRI
Did a
if I
man
was
not
not in his
spit in the
chat
face of
multiple
Trump?
times.
Is that
Was
not
I
allowed?
not in
Why
your
not
chat?
Trump's face?
Yeah. I'm gonna let you respond, IRI. But was I not in your chat multiple times? You even talked to me while I was in your chat. Isn't
I
that
don't
true?
remember. This is 4 years ago, so I don't recall to be.
But that's what happened, Pisco. I was there. I actually do follow leftist content.
Why don't
Yes,
you point to
Pisco.
a specific of agitation? You just said he said things, but you can't point to a specific.
Yeah, I
agitation.
was getting
Oh,
into
wow.
it, but you just interrupt me every
Oh, so why don't
15
you go
seconds.
into it?
Remember
Yeah, I've been trying to go into
4
it,
years ago.
Pisco.
It was crazy.
Doesn't seem like
Yeah.
it. It sounds like you're making fun of people with disabilities. That's what it seems like.
No, just Dylan Burns.
Andrew,
Oh,
you're a
yes.
cunt. You've always been a cunt,
I
and the
know.
only thing
Yes.
that's going to change is one day you might have more cunt kids. Okay? Now, let's
You won't
continue
have
with the
any
topic.
kids because you're gay.
Dylan,
bisexual.
My God, bro.
I don't know what this has to do
No,
with
there's
anything.
that.
You
Well, I don't know. You brought the
You're
shit up.
gay.
I didn't bring it up.
Okay?
You are a child, my friend.
Fantastic. Anyway,
You don't know anything about IRI if you're accusing him of being a radical leftist. You don't seem to make a distinction between liberals and communists. You just
I
think
don't.
you think we're all like literal fucking
Yes,
communists.
you're all communists. Yes,
Because
from
you're
my
silly.
Sound
That's a
like
silly
James,
thing to
Andrew.
suggest.
I'll
You're
It's a
mad about the
silly thing to
interest rates, so you
suggest.
pouted for half an hour, didn't say anything.
The
You
int-
were
hey, the
upset
interest
got
rates you
blown
still
the
don't
fuck
understand.
out,
You
and
mean
then
you
still
mean
don't
I'm
understand how they
gonna
work.
let these guys go?
This
Yeah.
is completely
Yeah, just like
degenerated.
Trump, they're all comparing about the
We're gonna
moderator.
go down the list. There's 2 more names. Then we're gonna wrap up, ask the questions people donated for, and wrap this up. We're gonna throw it over to Pisco, then Gibbs. Then we're gonna do final statements,
Yeah,
and then
I
we're
mean-
gonna read the donations, and you can all get out of here.
The attack doesn't really work from Andrew because Trump presided over BLM. If you have a problem with how governors were doing it, then you necessarily have a problem with Trump not invoking the Insurrection Act and praising many of the governors who you say are responsible for this. You know, you want to talk about, Minnesota, where I'm sure you guys are pointing to the things that burned down. Why did Trump praise it? You know, Trump is in charge. He's the person who can absolutely mobilize the National Guard if he wanted to, and just like in January 6th. And so the attack doesn't really work because, as IRI pointed out to you, to the extent that you see a government fault there, Trump is absolutely responsible for coordinating it. And if it is as large and as bad and as society destroying as you say it is, you can't possibly say that it's a local issue and it just should be held locally if what you really think is this was crumbling our society. And so the attack is not it doesn't work. And of course, it doesn't work in light of your, you know, kind of downplaying of January 6th, as well as other issues. And I really think that your behavior tonight, Andrew, has been despicable. You've like been crying,
Man, stop whining. All you do is whine.
And then you go after the moderator, just like Trump
Still
did,
whining.
just like sycophants are doing, and you're calling him like, you know, a degenerate because.
Oh my God! Oh, clutch your pearls harder.
Just like you went after women at the start of your conversation.
Oh my God!
It's all
Andrew's so
hate.
mean.
It's all hate.
He's so mean. Andrew's so mean.
All hate.
Oh,
It's
no.
all hate. It's all ugly.
Stay classy.
It's all hate. Andrew's mean.
And frankly, it's weakness because you know
Andrew
you're losing
mean.
on all these points, and
Andrew
that's
mean.
why you say, in order for me to debate, you have to pay you money because you're a
he's a
scared little
5-year-old.
rat.
Okay, it's called capitalism.
Pisco is happy to debate
I
with
think
you,
the
but you're
personal
saying all you've
attack
done is
section of the
clutch
rules
your
section
pearls.
has just been disregarded in its entirety this episode. We're gonna throw it over to Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I'm the, you know, paragon of not making personal attacks. That's what I'm known for, you know. You know, sorry, I couldn't resist. Yeah, so I gotta object to a couple of these things. I feel like we'll start with a semi-personal attack and start with, hey, you know, I feel like a lot of people, including one of the people on my own side, might need to get one of these tampons that Tim Walz is talking about before we can begin because they don't know stats. It's pretty clear. Just looking at Greg Abbott, we can go to the stats with from text.gov. 85% decrease in immigration here in Texas is Project Lone Star. We've seen all sorts of stuff. I can go by line stats. 516,000 legal immigrants have apprehended, 45,000 criminal arrests, 35,000 felony charges. We've apprehended over 500 million lethal doses of fentanyl, enough to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States just from doing this. So clearly, it's not just an immigration issue. Whenever people keep talking about the immigration issue, and this is part of the reason why Kamala failed so bad, is because, hey, listen, it's an infrastructure issue. Texas is on the brunt of this. These other states are on the brunt. There's no infrastructure being built, whether that's whatever being done, like whatever. And then no one cared about this issue. This is how dishonest Dems are. No one cared about this issue until Abbott started shipping people to New York and Chicago, and all of a sudden the Democrat constituents got up in arms and go, hey, maybe we should fix the border. We should build a wall around Texas and stop letting them ship immigrants to Chicago. There's actually videos of this. I can pull them up if we want to later. I know someone's going to try to say source. Don't worry, I have them. I know that's what they do here. And so finally, on that note, it's pretty clear after they lied about the border, they lied about Biden's competency, which, oh God, they cooed him. He's gone. They took him out back and shot him like a dog. The guy's literally on a beach. It's crazy. And y'all are sitting here going, oh, whatever. It didn't happen. Gibbs taking the bait. It's clearly after 12, 16 years where the Democrats have controlled the president, it's not Trump's fault for the little time where he tried to fix the goddamn catastrophe that is the economy, goddamn catastrophe is foreign policy. I mean, look, under Trump, Russia didn't invade. Under Biden, Russia invaded. Israel's at war.
Or was
It's
this
terrible. No, this is just all these things that they've lied about eternally. And yeah, well, it's not in this thing. I got more. Don't worry. I'm just saying all these people have been lying completely the whole time, and then they want to sit here and talk about, oh, personal attacks, good faith, bad faith, whatever. Maybe just stop lying and admit that everything's been bad since the start with Biden and nothing's got better statistically.
True.
Okay, we're gonna throw out a few questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let me just go down the list of questions that people donated for. This is one for Andrew. No, that's just a joke. Half of them are jokes, actually. We're just gonna go past the jokes. I assume you guys don't want those. No, that's an insult. That's an insult.
Well, unless they're funny, we'll hear, right? Shit.
Most of them are not funny. Most of them are just angry. Okay.
A lot of fat jokes.
For Pisco, why do you think Harris's policy, recreating the market condition that ultimately led to the housing bubble crash in 2008, will result in anything other than having another market crash beyond 2025?
I don't think that it is. Yeah, I don't think that it is recreating the market conditions of the Great Recession, because the point is to lower the price of homes, and the problem with the bubble was, on the one hand, these kind of new financial instruments, deregulation of housing, and lowering standards for who's allowed to get a home, and so this would not kind of invoke those things. I don't know that it would cause a kind of bubble like we saw in the Great Recession. In fact, I think the attempt would be to lower the price of homes and to give people the financial ability to reasonably buy it and purchase a home, not to like go above their means. And I don't think this would affect the kind of mortgage-backed security industry. It wouldn't affect the kind of corruption that we were seeing in the credit rating agencies or any of the kind of bullshit from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so I don't think it's on all fours with what was happening in the housing crisis, which I think is completely different.
If I can respond, if you don't mind.
Yeah, are
I
we
think-
allowed to respond?
I think that I actually think that's wrong. I don't think you have good reason to say that. Take aside the plan to who knows what the particulars are to build 3 million houses, how long it would take, et cetera, et cetera. All of these plans to give money to first-time borrowers, et cetera. What that's going to do is drive up the cost of these homes because once these banks realize they own these homes, hey, we could just charge $25,000 more. That's what they're going to do, and it's going to incentivize lenders to give money because now they'll be artificially able to have the down payment on these homes to people that otherwise wouldn't qualify for mortgages, which means that it's more likely that we're going to have a collapse, that they won't be able to pay these mortgages, which is the exact sort of things that led to the 2008 crisis. In addition to that, it'll have the net effect of making these banks more landowners, because what will happen will be people will be able to purchase these homes and get mortgages, and then once they default on the mortgages, it will become the property of the bank, which means it will consolidate home ownership in the hands of the wealthy even more, which will have the net effect in the long run of meaning that the people that are on the lower and middle income scale that elsewise would be able to qualify legitimately for these mortgages won't be able to do so. Also, one little pet peeve I have is like little rude, Hutch, to talk to your audience while someone else is talking. Just a little pet peeve. You should. I leave my audience here what you're saying when I talk. Just saying.
I'm not trying to be rude. I saw other people doing it. I'm not trying to be
I'll say it to anyone. That's all.
Andrew's been doing it the whole time.
Andrew's audience knows what I think, so I didn't see him doing it. That's fine. That's my response.
He's been doing it the whole time. So.
Okay, we got some more questions. This one is simple. Can each person give their best prescribed policy for their preferred candidate? And I'm going to start with Gibbs. Just make it quick, 5 seconds. Just say a policy.
Yeah, sure. I want wall and immigration reform. I want it easier for people to come, and I want security at the border where we funnel people in through legal ports.
Could have just said wall. That would have been even more.
But both. It's both. Immigration reform is important too. Like you can't have one without the other. Like that's something I think people bash like Republicans. Like if you're near the border, we know we need reform. We want people that
wasn't quick.
Okay,
but I'm sorry. Well, I was just clarifying. I'm sorry.
But 5 seconds for everybody. Andrew.
That's all.
All progressives in prison.
Okay. Hutch.
Paid family and sick leave.
All right.
$6,000 child tax credit. I think that would help a lot.
Joe.
Weapons embargo 100% towards Israel.
That's for Jill Stein, isn't it?
That's
yes.
his preferred.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Pisco.
My favorite is the personal one. I don't think it's the best for necessarily for the country, but my personal is the Supreme Court reform.
Okay. Rob.
Firing everyone who's engaged in lawfare.
And Turk.
Abolish the NFA.
Got you. For Andrew, what do you fear more? Giving a definition of insurrection or letting Pisco talk without spurging the fuck out?
You mean Pisco interrupt the entire panel the entire night, regardless of who was talking? And not only that, that was not my burden in that debate. Unfortunately, many people reviewed that, and Destiny got fucking wrecked, just like Pisco would. Neither one of these idiots have any clue what they're talking about. Anytime they're pressed on any issues, all they do is deflect and do whataboutisms. They're not debaters; they're morons.
Can you explain to me just real quick? Can I just ask him a question?
Did you put
No,
money
you
in
can't
the
ask
super
a
chat?
question.
Yeah,
I'd like to ask you a question.
You have to put $20
Real
in super chat.
quick.
Well, yeah, actually, that's right. You have to give $20 super chat.
You have to $20 super chat.
You have to PayPal me $20.
Hutch, use your video game money and
It's a
send in the
donation
super chat,
section,
bro.
you know? It's a donation section.
Yeah, you did really bad in the Black Ops
I'll give the one
marketing
one-
stuff, dude.
the-
Come on.
Whoa.
We'll go towards the end. Hutch, I'll let you go first so you can ask him a question in your any statement. That okay?
No, it's all right. Let's just get past him.
I mean, he just attacked me some more. Can I have 20 seconds to respond to what he just said? Or no?
Okay, but then we got to move on, okay?
Okay, the only point here
And then
is
Andrew might be able to respond, and then we'll go on for another 5 minutes.
You heard Andrew say to tomfoolery, I have a secret definition of insurrection, but I'm not going to reveal it until I have my next opponent on the definition of insurrection. It's just more games with him. It's more absolute, like, little ways to try to get an edge, whether it's yelling over people or calling people gay or calling people, like, Down syndrome. It's all bullshit. It's part of the narrative. He's an idiot himself.
Well, the reason that these people are allergic to logic, they don't seem to understand when the burden of proof is on them. Even if I had a set of beliefs, I'd never have to reveal what those beliefs were to do an internal critique on your position of what is true or if X ought to be true. They don't understand this because they're fucking stupid. All of them fucking stupid. I've blown everybody on this panel out before.
Me too.
IRI, Hutch, all of them. Hutch was going to cry. He looked like he was going to cry. Well, you're less stupid than most of them.
I was bawling.
But you look like you were gonna cry, Hutch. But anyway, there's my 20
True.
seconds.
I was on the verge of tears the whole time.
On the interest rate.
Let's reel it up. That'll be it. We're gonna do ending statements now. Go around, everybody, shout out your channels, and give your last thoughts in the discussion. Do not ask a question to somebody that has already, passed you. You can ask a question to somebody who's gonna answer after you, but obviously they can't respond. So we're gonna start with, let's start with Turk.
Yeah. So I was prepared for a different prompt, and I tried to answer the prompt given today, and then we completely got off the rails talking about stuff that clearly was evident with the actual debate that happened this week, and everyone kind of fell for the trap. I think Rob, did the best trying to stay on the topic here, so a tip to Rob there. I think Kamala delivered the best. During the debate, I was like, man, this is not going well, and that it just shows just how bad Trump performed in the debate. But again, it's like when it comes to policy, people see through some of the stuff that was said on Kamala's side just because there wasn't a lot of substance there. I really wish there could have been more substance, but the moderators were just not having it. They wanted to vet through Trump's previous errors and all of his bad bugaboos, which, we've talked about for the past 8 years, actually. We talked about it while he was in office, and we did the same thing tonight. So I think I should just go play Diablo 4 some more.
Amen.
What build are you running?
This is a Barrage Rogue,
Okay, now we're gonna throw it over to Gibbs.
Sorry about that. All right, yeah. So, in closing, I think the age-old expression of quickness is quickest does. About sums up what we need to do. The quicker we can get Kamala and Biden out of there, the better. Everyone made fun of Trump during the debate, since we talked about the debate a lot, which, like I said, wasn't the top I prepared for, but we were ready. He made fun light of the issue that taxpayers have with Kamala saying, hey, we're going to advocate for transgender surgeries for illegal immigrants in prison. And I thought that was so outlandish, and I Googled it. Turns out she gave a whole speech to the ACLU where she advocated for this in quite a bit of detail. Well, I know we didn't cover that. I wish we had. I have all the quotes and stats ready. I guess it was a trap that didn't get laid, and I didn't get the bite on, like Rob would like to describe for me. But, I was ready for this trap. Either way, it's terrible. The economy's terrible. Foreign policy's terrible. Listen, if you think that it's going to be positioned to be better under Kamala, brother, let me tell you, you got 3 brain cells and one of them just died gasping for air because you forgot how to breathe. It's terrible. I don't know how anybody can be in favor of voting for Kamala right now with everything so blatantly obviously bad. The border, economy, foreign policy, it's a wash. Kamala has no answers. Her answers are vague. Trump does have answers. You can look them up. What I keep hearing is buzzwords, opportunity economy. Vote Trump, don't vote Kamala. You can find me everywhere as Admiral Gibbs. We do gaming and politics and a lot of general bullshit. Good times.
Let's go.
Kamala blew Trump the hell out of that debate. It's obvious. Everyone's saying it. Even the conservatives on this debate are saying it. All of the punditry is saying it practically, and they're coping because their daddy can't handle any possible loss or him, perceiving to be on the downswing at all. In terms of the two candidates themselves, there couldn't be possibly a greater contrast, both in substance and in character. In substance, Kamala Harris's policies are way better in every possible way. An actual plan to address the immigration crisis, the housing proposal that she's putting forth, the child tax credits that she's putting forth, her changes to the Affordable Care Act and making healthcare work better for everyday Americans, to say nothing of the other kind of issues that maybe are less in front of your face, but are just as significant. The Supreme Court reform, which are badly needed, among other changes as well. But this really should be an election about character. Who do you trust to be the commander-in-chief? Who do you trust to wield that office and be looking out for you and not themselves? And on that score, there couldn't be even a brighter possible line between these two individuals. Trump tried to steal the 2020 election and end our democracy and end the peaceful transition of power. Kamala didn't do that. And Kamala, if she loses, you can bet that she is going to gavel in Donald Trump's win. I guarantee guarantee it if she loses the election. Donald Trump is all about himself, and he's not even mentally or cognitively fit to be the president of the United States. You saw him on that debate stage, unable to really put together two thoughts, and at times, biting easy bait that it's so obvious it's bait. In real time, it's bait. You think he's not going to do that with Vladimir Putin? You think he's not going to do that with Kim Jong-un or any of these other leaders who are going to eat him for lunch, as Kamala Harris said? And so if you love America, if you love our Constitution, if you love the fact that we're allowed to vote and have our vote matter and count, you should vote for Kamala Harris. Do not put this guy within an inch of the Oval Office again, because he's just going to abuse the power like he did for 4 years.
Okay, over to Joe.
Yeah, I think it's Donald Trump is a no-go for me, but I think it's very important for me to say this, so I really make sure like where I sit on this is distinct from the other people on this panel, right? So the Biden administration is a full partner in the genocide in Gaza. And while Democrat leaders claim to be tirelessly working on a ceasefire, they provide over $20.8 billion in weapons to Israel's mass slaughter of Palestinians since October 7th. And Democrat leaders have repeatedly demanded, Democrat voters, have repeatedly demanded for an arms embargo and a permanent ceasefire from the Biden administration. And polling's on the side of support for that. And at the Democrat convention, you had uncommitted delegates, some of which that I voted for, that were censured and rejected from just the premise of speaking at the event itself. And the Harris campaign and congressional Democrats across the country have had ample opportunity to adopt some type of humanitarian position on Gaza. Instead, Democrat leaders just remain on staunch war criminals who facilitate genocide and carry out flagrant violations of national and international law. For me, it's no votes for genocide. I cannot support either candidate. And for me, as its current state, Jill Stein is my only answer. And also, you can follow me at twitch.tv/Joe Lewis, 2 O's, Jooe.
Wait, what? You say, wait, Jill Stein, you say?
Yeah, he said Jill
Yes.
Stein. He's a Jill Stein voter.
Yes, I am. I do appreciate the time. I really like talking to all of you guys. This is my first time engaging with Andrew Wilson. Very, very cool. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Speaking of Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, happy to engage with you in the future. If you ever want to have a discussion, I'm happy to do that. Thank you to the panel, including Dylan Burns, for hosting it. You might think I was a little hard on Dylan this evening, but just full disclosure, Danabo, the recruiter, requested that I be mean to Dylan. I guess he needed some additional sound bites. And so all I did was fulfill the request of his recruiter. So you can't really get mad at me for that. When it comes to Pisco, for instance, Pisco brings up the idea that I requested that he pay for a debate, but all I was doing was holding the same standard that Destiny holds, that you have to have some criteria. If you don't have the criteria for the sub count in order to come on my huge channel, Pisco, then I think that payment is fair. Now, would I charge anybody else but Pisco? Probably not, but Pisco complained and bitched and whined about it, so I just couldn't help myself. Now, on top of all of that, let me just point out that wrecking you idiots is the funnest pastime that I've ever had in my life. I've made Hutch cry. He cried. Oh, let me off, please. But anyway, okay, back to this. This was a bait and switch. We did not get the actual topic. All the conservatives on here are complaining about it because we were told that this was going to be a who's in a better leadership position, Kamala Harris or Trump. And it turned out that that was not the actual topic. You can see them all nodding their heads because we had a bait and switch done on us. But we still made the best of it anyway. Not that we should have, because progressive scumbags lie all the time in order to get you pigeonholed into topics you didn't even agree to under premises that you didn't agree to either. Now, to also maximize on the rest of this, I would like to thank the conservatives, especially, and IRI, who had a good head on his shoulders this evening, the only one besides the conservatives who did. Happy to have a combo with you in the future as well. My name is Andrew Wilson. I am the host of the one and only Crucible, the fastest growing debate channel on YouTube, to my knowledge. I'm a political analyst, satirist, and also I engage in blood sport debates, and appreciate it, guys.
Okay, I do want to just throw out there that the topic was who's better to lead the country forward, and it did become a discussion on policy. We just opened on the debate. The discussion was 90% economic policy, 90% policy. So I think you guys debated the topic you prepared for. Anyway, continuing, we're going to throw it over to...
Yeah, I mean, after Rob moved it over to that, right?
What do you mean? Once it was said I was like, yeah, that's the topic. Let's start with the debate.
Yeah,
And then
once
we
Rob
had
said,
that
wait, we were
discussion.
strawman
We
into
had that
This is
discussion.
called
Then it got
moving the goalpost.
Yeah, I had a whole
Debate.
different opening prepared. I would have definitely done something different. I will say that.
Discussion you wanted. We just opened on the debate, the big news story that 70.
Well, to be fair, I opened
the panel show. We wanted to get audience to see the debate. If it was just another Harris-Trump
It's a
debate,
bait and switch, bro. It was a bait and switch.
Hold on,
bro.
hold on.
Discussion you wanted. It wasn't a bait and switch.
Well,
I
to
just
be
wanted
hold on,
bait and
with-
switch.
hold
about
on,
the
hold
debate
on.
who won.
I do want to make one caveat. I know I'm the new guy and I was recruited. I feel that might not have helped because I definitely had a whole different opening prepared for the other topic, and I would have done something different. But it's like, I'm not worried. I'll adapt to whatever because I ain't scared. But it did seem a little bit baity switchy, just like from like
Just a bit.
never been
Just
here,
a bit.
never been here before. Never been here before.
But
Kind of
also
like.
I also
perspective.
put post-presidential debate in parentheses to let you guys know that depending on the presidential debate topic, it's going to be on the debate. So it's not like any.
After the
nobody-
debate,
It was
we're gonna
good.
have-
It was fine. It was good.
I
Don't worry
didn't
about it.
read the question word for word.
All of us happen to be under the
very
wrong
casually.
impression.
In
It
the
must be on
future,
all of us.
I'll make sure to make it go on a contract, and I'll be sure to read word for word, byline by byline. Okay. Now, who's the last two people left? I know there's two people left. Rob.
My boy
and
Rob.
IRI. So I'll throw it over to Rob.
Okay.
And me.
I think.
Oh, then I'll throw it over to Hutch first. It needs to be in order.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, like, listen, after Trump's debate with Biden, he requested another debate. After his debate with Kamala, he's now saying that's it. I think he obviously got rattled. She walked right up to him to start that debate, shook his hand, looked him right in the eyes, was staring at him for 95% of that debate. He barely looked at her. He was totally outclassed the entire time. I think that was obvious, and I think the polls reflect that. In terms of who is better suited to lead the country, just take a look at the two parties right now and just tell me what you guys think. And if we had more time, I would love to have asked my conservative counterparts, do you feel like the Republican Party is in a better position now than they were in 2016? I think the answer is obviously not. The modern American conservative project is in shambles. The House is chaos. They ousted their own House Speaker for the first time ever. They had one of the worst midterm performances in modern history during an economic downturn. The Democratic Party, in contrast, has never been more cohesive and unified in my entire life. I like our chances. I think we're looking pretty good to win the House. I think we're looking pretty good to win the presidency, and the Senate isn't completely out of reach. And so I think we are the adults in the room, and I think that the modern conservative project right now is just it's a joke. It's ridiculous. I think most people understand this. But
Dylan,
thanks for
just
having
real
me
quick, if you don't mind, I'd just like to ask Hutch very briefly. Hutch,
Yes.
would you be willing to continue this debate with me with Rob Knorr moderating after this is done?
no, I'm getting dinner, bro.
Okay.
If you want to set up a conversation about politics some other time, we can do that.
Okay.
IRI? Actually, no, Rob. It would be conservative. so
Yeah,
Rob.
you're wrong.
All right, fair enough. So I do think that the topic wasn't initially what we agreed to. It is worth mentioning because initially then it perceives as if I'm on the side of the lefties, like I said. But I do think that we adapted. And the only reason I think it's worth mentioning because I am vaguely aware that someone not understanding the specific topic before has led to a lot of controversy. So I just want to get on record, even though I think we did adapt and I don't think it harmed my performance whatsoever. I think I did great. I appreciate everyone's interactions on here, even those that are going harder than others. Obviously, I have love in my heart for the conservatives on the panel. Even Gibbs, who I was shitting on because I was upset that I laid a trap for Hutch and you stepped on my toes and it took me 20 minutes to get to it. But to talk about this briefly, I think Trump underperformed in the debate. I think he did poorly. I think Kamala Harris did poorly, but less poorly. I don't think it'll have a big effect whatsoever when it comes to how this election would be proffered. I think that what I tried to do is what Trump should have done is to not allow the deflections that you see that gets off the target of Kamala Harris has been hidden. She hasn't explained her position. She seems to, when she ran for president previously and was very clear about positions, she seems to have now done a 180 on those, but we haven't heard that from her mouth. We just hear from surrogates and other people on mainstream media places that are saying it. She seems to be running a vibes campaign that the establishment institutions, including the majority of the legacy media, is completely dragging her across the finish line. But if that's what the election becomes about, and I get it, I get what Hutch is saying, like, oh, despite the poor economics, Democrats did better than expected in 2022. Yeah, that's the point. That's why I'm a populist. I think these institutions are corrupt and they control the narrative. And when you control algorithms on places like Google and the majority of the legacy media and academia and the entertainment industry and the intel agencies are on your side and lying about things like the Hunter Biden laptop, etc., putting their thumb on the scale every election, yes, it makes it likely that the party that has disastrous policies ends up winning elections. And I'm predicting that will happen again. I am predicting that Kamala Harris will win. But it is no doubt that she's hiding. And if the election is about the track records of Trump and what the country was like under him economically and through the border, it was doing phenomenal. And then when we look at the Harris-Biden administration, which it's just an empty suit that was running as Joe Biden, and it's the same as Kamala Harris, it'll be people behind the scenes. I found it humorous at one point, IRI said, who are those people behind the scenes running things? Right, who's running the presidency now, IRI? You don't know. That's the whole point. But my democracy, right? My democracy. The most anti-democratic thing I've seen in modern elections is the entire establishment gaslighting the American people about Biden's mental health. Then once the primary was effectively de facto given to him, coming out and forcing him out, and then installing a woman in Kamala Harris that would not have any chance of winning a primary, or would have a very small chance, and then basically keeping her under wraps and saying that all of her policy prescriptions will be said later. We even have her surrogates going out like, she shouldn't talk to the press. Why should they? People will look at her policies and try to spin them negatively. No shit. And she had a chance in this debate, despite what I think was Donald Trump's failure. I think if she wanted to be transparent, she could have outlined specifics on many of these policies and what her agenda would be. She could have explained to the American people why she has so radically changed her position on Green New Deal things, defunding the police, getting rid of private insurance, banning fracking, paying for transition surgery for illegal immigrants, building a wall. All of these things are things that she had incredible articulation about being one direction before, and now she's just saying, I've changed, but my values have been the same, and hasn't explained any of it. So I did not take the bait. I correctly articulated why the economy is in shambles, and it's the fault of the Harris-Biden administration, why the border's in shambles, and it's the fault of the Harris-Biden administration, why we could see the policies of Donald Trump were doing good for this country, all people, even the middle class, lower class, and people in inner cities, people in rural America, people in the suburbs, and that his presidency would bring more of that, much better than the failures of the Harris-Biden administration that is ran by committee and would is only pissing on your leg right now, telling you what they think you want to hear because they're refusing to explain why they do 180s on their policy position or why they didn't accomplish the great things that they say they're now going to do so for the past 3.5 years when they controlled so much of our government. I'm Rob Noerr. You can find me. Just search my name, Noerr. Thanks.
It's called Normal America with Rob Noerr. He never shills himself enough.
IRI.
Yeah, Rob, you really got to work on brevity, man, because you say some interesting stuff, but you fucking ramble for 10 minutes and everybody tunes out, man. So you really got to start trying to fine-tune it a little bit, champ. And I'm glad I may be bad at debating, but at least I'm not a pawn of Russian propaganda and like you, who was featured on Tim Pool's The Culture War that was on Tenet Media's YouTube site. So congratulations, Rob.
So was I, by the way.
One of Russia's stupid pawns, you idiot.
Congrats to you both.
That being said, Kamala Harris had a great debate. These Republicans, conservatives are coping because she got to knock it out of the park, and she only did okay. But she did just fine, and I'd be upset, too, with all the energy on our side and my candidate saying, oh, they eat the dog, they eat the cat. So, yeah, it's going to be a little frustrating. I think Kamala's got this in the bag, so you guys need to start working on how to pronounce her name because you're going to be saying it for 8 years. But to my friends out there who are voting, please do not look away from the Senate because you're going to be frustrated if Kamala Harris wins and these Republicans control the Senate. And it's all going to come down to a couple of races, specifically Montana. Give John Tester some love. He's a Democrat running for re-election. He's a great guy. Please check it out. John Tester in Montana. Put some energy into his cause. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate you. I go by I'm really important because I fucking am.
Dylan, are you going to condemn all the progressives who went on Tenet Media as
I think
being
I should get to
Russians?
respond real quick that you just accused me because
it was a personal attack.
So
and
I
aren't
just
usually allowed in outros.
I just want to say, will you also be contacting Destiny, the Krasensteins, Cenk Uyghur, and all the other people that were on Tenet and calling them Russian pawns?
Talking about you, champ. Don't worry about everybody else.
That's what I thought.
Of course not.
That's all you have. And when I debated you last time, it was the same thing. You smear me as being a Russian agent. I will learn a little brevity when you learn any
a
sort of...
pawn in Russian propaganda.
You're a pawn. You're a Dick Cheney.
So are all of them then, by that
they
logic.
used you like a chump.
So did they did Destiny too. So tell Destiny he's a Russian pawn. Are you going to do that?
Was Destiny on the Culture War?
Yeah, not only that, he just gave you all the names that have been on.
Destiny was on Tim Pool's show. I don't know if he was on the.
He's on Tim Pool. But isn't Tim Pool a Russian
War
pawn?
show was the one that
isn't
was.
Tim Pool a Russian pawn?
But Destiny,
Rob,
I've never been on any of them. Give me your money.
Rob is Googling. Rob is Googling. Look at him.
Look
Googling
at
anything.
Hawking the Burisma conspiracy, which has completely been debunked. It's actually opposite, which is that Donald Trump.
If you've been on the show, you're a Russian agent.
I think IRI is a little bit more nuanced than that. If you're on
it
the
doesn't
show,
sound very nuanced.
That's not what he said, though.
For the purpose of promoting, and I think that Rob Knorr is being genuine.
Now we got to have partial nuance, only in certain instances.
He's a
Russian agent.
No, wait. Just real quick. I don't have to belabor this all night. I just want to say, if the argument, the Burisma scandal is not...
I think you do have to belabor it.
Okay, I'll belabor
I think you
it. But I know Dylan would like to get... I know Dylan wants to get out of here. The Burisma scandal's not been debunked, but if we're going to say that you think... No, it hasn't. If we're going to say... No, it hasn't. If we're going to say... No, it hasn't. If we're going to say... No, it hasn't. And before you interrupt me again... Okay. Thank you for the interruption again. I wasn't going to mention this, but I'm not a fourth grader that you want to teach about masturbation, Hutch. I know that's what gets your rocks off, that you like talking to fourth graders about masturbation.
You know
please
me
don't
so
interrupt. That's what... Hey, Hutch, do you think... Yes or no? Do you think we should teach fourth grader 10-year-olds about masturbation?
I was taught about it. I'm fine.
Okay, so that he is for it. Thank you
jacking,
very much.
I was jacking loads when I was in fourth grade.
I know,
and
you'd like to think
coming all over the house.
I know you like to think of fourth graders that way. Anyways, I'll finish my point.
I was jacking off in fourth grade.
There you go. True. Clip it. Anyways, so the point I'll try to make is I've personally heard almost every person on this panel on the left, though maybe not Joe, articulate the Russian disinformation that came in the Steele dossier that was sourced by a suspected spy, Igor Dushenko. Our FBI also put that. So will you all admit that you were all pawns of Russia for spreading that Russian disinformation?
No,
yes.
Of course not, because there's not been
I
established.
get paid by Russia.
Igor Dushenko was in fact a Russian spy, and of course, at the time, no one was aware of the pending DOJ investigation that would existed. So of course, that's silly.
At the
what
time.
does that have to do with anything?
Oh, you mean like Rob, who was not aware of anything going on within the media?
I was about to say, Andrew, I was about to say that I don't think that Rob Knorr, I don't know if IRI is being tongue-in-cheek, but I think that Rob Knorr gives us his genuine opinion, and I don't think he's a shill. If he was a shill, I think we'd see other kind of stuff, and I think that he's genuinely
literally got the
about
science behind him, dude.
I don't give a shit. I'm not taking this personally like IRI's gonna... I'm just saying it's...
Comrade, calm down. Do not give away the game, comrade.
Dude, IRI is like the Wayne Gretzky during, not Wayne Gretzky, Wayne and, not Wayne, Garth in Wayne's World, where he's wearing the Reebok stuff, and it's like, I'm doing things just to get paid, and that's really sad.
Hey, let's get Dylan out of here. I know Hutch. Let's get Hutch out of here. He's got to go think of fourth graders masturbating. Let's get him out of here so he can continue his...
Let's see. I wish I got a check on the Democrats.
10 a.m. where I am. I signed up for debate. We all signed up for a debate around Kamala Harris and Trump. Generally, I don't remember that part of the debate ever being requested, but I guess I got a left hook as well. I didn't know that was going to be at the end.
Get it? It's come up.
Thanks for the invite, Dylan. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's been very fun, Dylan.
On. I appreciate you guys coming for the second episode of the Hippy Dippy being back. Hope you all have a great weekend and get some good sleep. Bye bye, everybody.